Yeah, it's not RSP, which I could probably pass for that, like forehead wise, you know. But you know, and the front was crazy, so you're like, it was cool.
California's fucked.
And you had to wear New Balances, which probably sucked too.
And have a custom plate.
It's a nasal infection. Diagnosed.
Would you go to the doctor?
WebMD.
Yeah, right, dude.
Welcome to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original. Today's guest is Morgan Clarke, owner of Morgan Clarke Design.
And so on and so forth.
Oh, that was the end of the sentence. And there's like spaces. I got to get down to the farther down. I'm sick. I'm sick.
Are you?
Yeah, I was better yesterday and full-blown sick again.
We got that. You got that recorded.
You've announced that.
Yeah.
That's an announcement.
I am. It's an announcement.
You heard it here on Oil and Whiskey. Josh
I don't feel
has
good.
succumbed to, is it COVID? I think it's COVID.
It's not
Is it?
COVID.
Sure.
It
No.
looks like COVID. Dude.
It's a nasal infection. Diagnosed.
Would you go to the doctor?
Oh,
No.
that's a double slip.
So you got a stuffy nose, and then you went to the doctor as a result of said stuffy nose.
WebMD.
Yeah, right. Dude. Did you go to the immediate care, like the ER?
I didn't go to the doctor. When would I have gone to the doctor?
I don't keep
I've
track.
been here.
I don't know what
Every day for the last 3 days.
lunchtime. You probably went over to the Target little.
I didn't go to the doctor. You know what I did do? Came to work.
Yeah, and infected your peers.
I wasn't going to let it beat me.
I think that there little oxygen tank is right around the corner for you.
You wish.
Karma is gonna murder you.
No, what will murder me is me
Smoking with the oxygen tank.
not doing the oxygen tank, sheerly for the fact of you not being able to make fun of me.
Dude, just
they'd be like, you got to have it.
Just take a
It's
little
only,
bit, dude. I won't like you need it. I won't make fun of you.
the
Just
only
take
thing that's will keep you alive. No,
I won't do it.
I won't do it.
Get a little vape pen of oxygen.
Dude, you're dying. Just
hit
take some
that.
fucking oxygen.
You'll make fun of me. Drink a pumpkin spice latte.
I would do that.
All right, we're even.
Yeah.
Today's guest is Morgan Clarke, the founder of Morgan Clarke Design, which specializes in custom motorsports, art design, and performance metal fabrication. He also shares his expertise, instructional how-to videos, build films, and more on his YouTube channel at Morgan Clarke Design 1. You can also follow him on Instagram at Morgan Clarke Design 1 as well. Look at that, both of them the same. Morgan Clarke Design 1, YouTube, Instagram,
Makes it
social
easy.
channels.
That's branding right there.
That's being smart.
Easy guy to find.
Morgan, welcome to Oil and Whiskey, man. Cheers.
Hey, cheers. All coffee, you guys.
Perfect.
It works.
Yeah, you're probably gonna get back to work after this, huh? Well, we appreciate you coming on, man. We've all been big fans of your work for a long time.
I appreciate
You're,
that. Thank you for
you're one of
having
my
me.
go-tos on Instagram. You come up in my stories because I'm always checking out the stuff you do, and the work is just kick ass, dude. So it's a pleasure to have
Thank
you
you.
on here, man. Honor.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw the truck in person at SEMA this last year, and kind of been following it online, and then seeing it in person was blown away. I think we spent a good portion of time over there checking that thing out after hours and stuff.
We did.
Vivian.
Yeah, dude.
I just want to drive the thing. That looks like a blast.
Yeah, that was a good exercise. Speaking of like Roadster Shop, just to explain where I found you guys, or how I discovered Roadster Shop, was from the Colorado build, build.
Yep.
That was because I haven't been as prominent into hot rod stuff as I have like into off road, and the Colorado was the first thing I was like, whoa, these guys are like, they're going for it on this thing, you know?
Damn. Well, that means a lot coming from you, dude. That I know the off road community is maybe a little bit more harsh and vocal.
They're super accepting, right? They're super welcoming and accepting.
It's certainly mixed reviews out of that, but we had a hell of a fun time building it, and it was cool and pulled a lot of inspiration from a lot of you guys that do some incredible fabrication work.
Well, and you guys, like for myself, my manufacturing capabilities and my skill set revolves still around like OG tooling and doing stuff by hand. And with Roadster Shop, that's where I see like you guys are almost at that pinnacle of like a couple clicks below a factory production car, you know, like with the capabilities. And of course, like I'm the biggest fanboy for Mike. So that's my ultimate guy over there that I love, you know?
Yeah, Mike's a stud, dude. Mike's got quite the following. I mean,
He does.
We try to coerce him into coming on here, you know, to get him out in front of the world. But
yeah,
Mike's a behind the scenes kind of guy, you know?
Yeah, he likes to lay low.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but wildly talented dude. I mean, obviously you've seen his social media is incredible. Dude does some really neat stuff. And the Colorado, I mean, that was a lot of his handiwork there. So
was it?
Yeah.
I just see a lot of the process stuff with him. Like I envy his skill sets, you know, like I mean, I have my own, but when I see his stuff, I'm like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? Like, geez, this guy, you know?
Yeah, he's good, dude. He's definitely good.
How'd that Vivian truck come about? What was the story behind that?
What's that?
How'd the Vivian truck come about? I mean, how did the customer, I know, like a Tacoma, I mean, Toyota, wasn't it?
What's that?
It was a Toyota, right?
It was, yeah. I hate that it was, but it is what it is.
It is what it
Sometimes
is.
great things come from weird shit. So, Vivian came about. Eric Connor is the owner of Vivian, and I've done stuff for Eric. Eric like was one of those good clients. He had like this nasty Baja Bug, tube chassis Baja Bug with a 3-liter Whipple on an LS, and it would assault you when you drive it. And that was the first car I worked on for him. And when he came up to my shop, he's like, "Hey, I love what you do. I want to keep working with you on stuff." We shook hands. Like, if you do me solid, I'll just keep bringing you stuff. And, you know, when you hear that from people, you don't know how good that's going to hold up, and take it with a grain of salt. Eric has done that. And it went from working on the Bug to the Tundra. And then he had LS Fest. I think it was 2 years ago. LS Fest West, you know, he took it out there, and we had planned before that. He's like, I want to make it an F100. And, you know, I want to go to LS Fest, and then I want to drive it through the season. And we talked already. The plan was just to cut the chassis out of the middle, up the upper cage, put an F100 on there, dent side, and transform it like that. And he goes to LS Fest. I go, dude, I got a bad feeling about that. Rolls the shit out of it at LS Fest. And instead of getting through the season, that's in April. So he's like, all right, on my way home from Vegas, I'm just going to drop it off. And he located a cab, and he's like an old school, he's like an OG skater. He's a retired skater, pro skater from San Diego. And you know, that F100, like a lot of people, I'm sure you guys too, the F100 is like an iconic vehicle. People love those things. They go from farm trucks to hot rods to whatever. And you know, he's like, it's one of my dream trucks, and either I build a separate one or we just take what I have and we put the cab on there. And I'm no stranger to doing stuff like that. I like that, and that's a challenge already, because you're taking stuff that's already there, and then with design, you're making it look like it was not that. It wasn't. You just took some different thing and put a new thing on it, and you know, a lot of times you can disrupt the design like that if you don't do it right. And you know, his foundation with that Tundra was good enough where I believed in it and I saw the vision. And then he wrote it out with me with that, because, you know, I was like, well, if we're going to do it, we should body drop it so it doesn't sit high. We don't have floors on the frame. It's just a 3-sided shell. So why not just lower this thing down? And then, you know, I'm like, we're already here. It's a 135-inch wheelbase, a trophy truck, like your cream of the crop wheelbase for a off-road car. It's like 124, 125. So I'm like, all we got to do is just cut 10 inches more and we'll shorten it, you know? And then I'm like, the trailing arms were always ugly. Let's just do good trailing arms. You know, like I can put good geometry in the back. Let me build new pivot boxes. We're already here. Let's put bigger shocks on the back. Like, he took that ride, and it wasn't a disaster where he's like, dude, we're drowning and, you know, going over the budget. But it was like, yes, that's the right step. Yes, that's the right step. Yes, that's the right step. And every bit of that construction phase, and that's not including like the sheet metal and the interior we can talk about, but every bit of that was like, it's like making something really good. Like if you have a really good recipe for something, you know, and you don't have all those ingredients, it's not going to hit just right. And like, we did everything on that truck where it does, like the way it looks is how it drives and how it works. And it is like a completely functional piece of machinery because we did all those steps.
That's awesome.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just fucking awesome looking.
Yeah.
Like that thing, it looks mean, dude. I was stoked to see it out at SEMA. Like Josh said, we were all over the thing, man. It's a rad truck. What's this?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's one of those things. There's a lot of levels of finish work. You guys are very clear on that stuff, and that's like one of those ones. We got the cab. I could like put my finger in some areas of the cab where there was holes, like in the upper roof and like the rain gutter areas. And he's always like, dude, I'm not gonna. I want to leave it like this. I want to patina this thing, and so we pivoted off that. And I have like a pretty strong like design background, and we pivoted off that with the whole build from the start. Like, make it a utility pre-runner. It's nice, but it doesn't have a heater. It doesn't have air conditioning. Like, all the floors come out. Everything is like aircraft style. A lot of rivet stuff with like 1-inch spacing, just like if you look on like an airframe. A lot of like exposed hardware and like a multitude of smaller hardware instead of larger catches for stuff. So it has that industrial feel. Like the way to look at it is like if like and this is a little dated because like an old World War II bomber, like a B-17, like a bomber crew of like 8 guys or whatever, it'd be like their hot rod that they had that they fixed up. It's like that. Like, they made it cool in a lot of areas, but they like didn't give a crap about the finish work in some areas, as far as the cab and the paint and the upholstery and things like that.
For sure.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You mentioned design background. How did you get your start in this?
In off-road industry or just in fabrication?
In fabrication, in automotive. I mean, take us back to the thing, because I'm very interested.
Am I talking too much, you guys?
No, dude, no, not at all.
Dude, that's
what we're here. That's what we're here for.
A lot.
It's lots of talk. We can talk all night, man. That's what we're here for.
Cool. Well, I'm pretty, like, my stories became really clear and evident over the last, especially like the last year and a half. And what I mean by that is like, going through, at least for my life, going through stuff and going, like, working different jobs, having different struggles, dropping out of art center, like all this stuff, when it's happening, you're like, dude, shit, like I'm failing, or like, this isn't working out, or what am I doing? And then like, now I'm at a spot where I'm all, wow, this picture was all a step. Everything was a step to like my direction and my path in life. Like, whether it was tough or not, it's all queued up to that, and it all like makes sense now to me, and it feels so good because I still feel like I'm just getting started on stuff. When I was younger, whenever I could hold something in my hand, like a brush or a crayon or whatever primitive medium for art, I was drawing. Before I was talking or doing anything else, I was drawing. In elementary school, and I was deeply fond, and this is, we're talking no internet, no cell phones, no frame of reference besides either stuff you see on cable TV or stuff that you see at museums, or, magazines, of course, magazines. So I had a huge passion for World War II aircraft when I was in elementary school in the 90s, early 90s. I was born in 85. And then, even in 5th grade, I remember they put me in this GATE program. It's like it's for like gifted and talented kids, but it's usually for like kids that are super book smart. And
they put me in one of those programs too, and they said it was for gifted kids, but I think it was a different program.
Special
It's a
kids.
different kind of gifted.
Yeah, it's not RSP, which I could probably pass for that, like forehead wise, But I was the first guy to enter that and be accepted for art. And I remember, and this all makes sense. I remember like they'd have conferences throughout my life, starting in 5th grade all the way into high school. They'd have parent teacher like meetings. They'd come in, they go, Morgan won't stop drawing in class. And I didn't I didn't care about what they'd tell me in class. I would draw. I'd always draw. And I have ADHD. So for me, when I'm drawing, I'm listening way better than if I'm just staring at a teacher talking or something. Yep. And I was drawing, it started with all the World War II aircraft and military stuff. And then boom, I was like into hot rods, and I was like 57 Chevys, Dan Chuck or whatever that catalog you used to get, yep. Right? Is it pronounced like that?
Dan Chuck.
Yeah. They had one like a cartoon type. It was a hand-drawn 57 Chevy, right? On the convertible on the cover, I think.
Yeah, totally. I think it was red. Yeah. But that Dan Chuck catalog, I remember I grew up in Laverne, in California. So Pomona, the Dregs and the Super Chevy show were there and I'd go to those and stuff when I was younger. I didn't have a dad or anything, but I'd figure out a way to get over there. And I think that 57 Chevy, I would draw that thing and nomads and, all that. And that was 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. I didn't draw as much. And then high school, boom, I started drawing again. And I started riding dirt bikes when I was 13. I've told this story before, so that's why I kind of have it streamlined. I started racing dirt bikes, District 37, which is specifically desert racing. 13 or 14 years old, my mom would take me out there. My mom used to ride with like Steve McQueen and his whole crew in the 70s. And she was like my dad.
Dude.
So she took me out there.
You just dropped that like it's nothing.
What's that?
Yeah, I said, that's badass. You just dropped that like, oh yeah, my mom was riding with Steve McQueen.
Dude,
like
shoot
back in
with
the 70s.
Jordan.
Like,
And,
yeah.
It's pretty epic. Yeah. And she had like photo albums of like her and Steve McQueen. And
Holy shit.
she was one of the only girls in the group. So I'm sure she hung out with them. You know what I'm saying? But like she still had those times. Like, and there was remember that movie On Any Sunday?
Yeah.
There was that guy with the dog on the gas tank. Like he had like carpet on his fuel tank on his dirt bike, and he would race with his dog. And then she had that in the photo albums, like with her. Whoa, this is dope. So she was a tomboy in a sense, but regardless, what I'm getting at is I would go out there and, they'd mark the courses in these trucks for the desert races. And I remember I saw this truck, like a Ranger extra cab, and it had big fenders and there were shocks in the bed. I'm like, dude, what is that thing? Like, whoa, it's big. The proportions were all cool. And, like, because the big tires and like big wheel openings and small cab and that was it. Boom, boom, right there. Intrigued. Like, what is that? And I registered it, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was a pre-runner. I also didn't know it was a starter kit pre-runner. Like a bro kid probably had it and it was not built or caged. I had an XR50. I broke the swing arm on that thing around 15 years old. So this is maybe 99 or 2000. I looked up a welding place in the phone book, and it was Solo Motorsports. And we was in Azusa, so we just drove down there, and this guy Bobby comes out, and they are at this place, and there's these pre-runners everywhere, and they are caged, and they're big badass OBS Chevys, like tubes everywhere, suspension everywhere, raw welding everywhere. I have goosebumps right now. And that was, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was a thing. And I saw this stuff, and it left these crazy imprints on me. And that's another thing, with life, like you don't realize what leaves an imprint on you until later in life,
Dude, that is awesome, man. And for us, it's tough. Like, it's cool talking like some of you guys that are like Southern California guys, because you had so much exposure to cool stuff. For me and my brother, we grew up in the Midwest, right? Like what we saw was a jacked up square body truck with a pro net for a tailgate, and they put an extra, they put an extra shock on it. There's like 2 shocks instead of 1.
Yeah, 4 steering stabilizers.
Right, but there was
I think if you're balling, you have the whole Lund truck accessories. Like you have those big 3-inch bars in the back that are doubled up.
Yep.
And then you have like the windshield visor.
Oh, yeah. 100, absolutely. For the OBS stuff, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, we have the car, it's the culture, right? The car culture here is deep. And, with everything going on, too, it's like I'm still in California, and I love California primarily for that stuff, besides like weather and geographic locations. But I would have gotten out of here a long time ago if there wasn't all that car culture. It's a big deal.
Damn. So that tube chassis OBS stuff, I mean, that starts shaping you. That lights you up. You're like, holy shit, this is badass. This is what I got to do.
It was different. It was an OBS. It was like a 90, maybe a 98 Chevy in there, 97 F-150s. But it was really just these cars that resembled manufactured vehicles that were completely built out. Like, where it just, everything is custom. And I saw, when you see raw stuff, I'm a 4th generation craftsman, and so I'm sure it's in my blood, but when you see raw metal and you see the weld marks and you see like prep areas, like you can feel that someone has built that. You can just feel that. And I think even at that age, 16 or so, I like could tell like, wow, these guys are like constructing these things. And I'm, when I was younger, I'm building Legos and build model, like plastic model cars and all that stuff. And it just fits right in, Fast forward, I went away, I got shipped away when I was 17. I got picked up. My high school years were not drinking and partying or doing drugs or anything like that. I rode dirt bikes, and I was ditching school 3 days a week to go ride dirt bikes in Beaumont. And I'm out of control, angry kid. I don't know exactly where all that comes from even now, but I was just an out of control kid, but I wasn't out of control with vices or partying. I was just like moving fast and, getting in fights and ditching school to ride dirt bikes. And my mom felt like there was no other option but to have me picked up to go to like a wilderness boot camp when I was 17. And I got swooped up like 2 a.m. in the morning, or well, obviously 2 a.m. strangers came into the house and they're like, "You're coming with us." And I didn't know like what's going on. My mom told me nobody could sleep the night. I still had a buddy sleeping the night. And these guys, like this guy and this girl, they put me on a plane, and I was still kind of not coherent. And I ended up in Idaho, went to this wilderness boot camp with all these like troubled kids. And then I spent my rest of my high school days at Northwest Academy, which is a emotional growth boarding school. I got a lot of gains from that psychologically and like emotionally. But I was pulled away out of life for a bit. When I came back 18, my mom married a high school sweetheart. And he gave me a job working structural steel. Do you guys have any questions before I keep going?
No, dude,
I'm locked in,
man. Yeah,
okay,
I can relate to some of those. One of my best buddies, same thing happened. They yarded him out middle of the night. Yeah, and he disappeared throughout all high school. Came back like total changed, dude. Lance and
just
grabbed his ass.
It's
gone.
It's tricky because what they do there is, and it's a huge part of my story. And what they do there is they really, the way you look at it, like when all of us are little kids essentially, right? And the only reason you guys act the way you do and the way I act the way I do is because that's how we feel like we need to be and act. Besides our character and our values. With being young, you go through so many traumatic events and you stash a lot of stuff away, and you carry guilt, you carry shame, and it starts to wear on you. And the way they described it best is like that we're all shiny, like polished metal balls when we're born. And then every instance of something that happens to us, it adds, a scratch, or it scuffs it, or it really gouges it, and that's our painful memories that you go through and things we go through that representation of the ball after that is like us. That's who we are. With Northwest Academy, their goal was to like repolish this thing back out. It's great for cleansing everything up until you being 17 or 18 years old. But what happens is then you go out into the real world, and the real world is so messed up. It's like dramatic and traumatizing because you're not used to that. Now you're like a little kid again. Like you're pure. You're like a solid little human kid. And so then boom, you stack that stuff up quick right when you get out because everything's kind of harsh.
Is that a faith-based organization?
What's that?
Is that a faith-based organization? Is that like
no?
It's just
really just values and like being in agreement with yourself. And no, there's none of that stuff. And I'm not a really religious person either. I mean, I believe in like a higher power. I believe there's something greater than us, but I'm not like on some God stuff,
Wow. That's that's crazy.
Go ahead.
2 years there, give or take year.
6 weeks at Ascent, the wilderness camp. Right. And that was the thing. Like everybody was like, "Oh, you're just going to go up to this camp for 6 weeks." I'm like, dude, I can do whatever for 6 weeks. And then, the fifth week, you get a letter from your parents, and the letter is like the letter. Are you staying? Are you going to Northwest Academy, or are you going home? And I'm like, I'm good. We're going home. And the wilderness camp was gnarly. It was like you're sleeping in these teepees, you're chopping wood all day. Your job varies from cutting trees down in the forest to dragging the trees with a crew of people with chains to sawing them with like an old school, big old long logger thing, to splitting them, to stacking them, like You're doing that. That's what you do for 5 weeks. 5 weeks comes around or whatever, and I get the letter that I'm staying, and I'm wrecked. It was a year and a half. I resisted for several months, just like the most I could, having to be there, but resisting nonetheless. And then finally, when I gave in, is when I got the tools.
That's nuts.
It's wild when they, out of curiosity, right? They grab you originally. I mean, in today's day and age, I feel like things are so much different, right? You come into a house and grab a kid in the middle of the night. Nowadays, social media, the rest of the things probably you got problems. But at what point do they like explain that to you, right? So you feel like somebody came in the fucking room, they snagged you out of bed. You have no idea what's going on. At what point are they like, hey, man, here's what's going on? Your mom called us.
It's just as rough as you think. I think ring cams, you'd already get a win on this stuff. If you're a kid, you're out. Ring cam pops off, dude, dipping out. What's going on? I think, I don't know how what do you guys do for language on this thing?
we cut loose. There's zero fucking barriers.
Okay. Sometimes I use languages who I am, and I don't, I just don't want to. I want to be mindful. I think kids these days and the way we're doing stuff, there's a lot of pussies, and
mm-hmm.
I think the parents are pussies to an extent, like with this stuff. Like, I don't think, and there's just so much cancel stuff. It would never fly. And the way it worked, it was gnarly. But when you're such like a shock situation, they woke me up. Big people. The woman was big. The dude was big. The dude was 6'2" or 3, and it's 2 a.m. They do it exactly when they know that you're going to be like in some serious sleep. They're like, hey, I mean, the dialogue's something like this. The dialogue's like, hey, and I wake up, you're coming with us. You're going away for a little bit. What? No, I'm not. No, you're going with us. Your mom is out here. She said this is what we're doing. Your mom has got us to do this. You're going with us. I didn't put up much of like, what do you do? These people are going to take me out either way. My mom was on the couch crying in the living room, and she was in her face crying because, I mean, think about it. This is a move my mom made, not a dad.
Yeah.
And I'm her only son. And I think she was at a point where she's like, I'm going to lose my son. Like, this guy's going to be going to jail, or this guy's going to like lose his opportunity at life. And this is my last resort, and I have to just do this. And she was doing the best she can. I remember, it makes me emotional, but I remember she was like over there, and I saw her, and I was so angry. And I go, Mom, and she like looks up, and I'm all, fuck you. Oh. And I just left. And dude, I don't know. So that was step one. Like, and then, we left out of Ontario Airport, which wasn't that far from the house, maybe 30 minutes. They didn't talk to me. I wasn't losing my control or anything, like with like trying to get out of a car or any of that stuff. It's like, you're at a point here where like you're a kid still. So it's not much you can do when you get strong armed by full grown adults. And then we flew, on just like normal civilian airline. The trickiest part, and you don't know where you're at, because I flew into Spokane, Washington. I didn't register this stuff until later. And then we like drove through Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and up into the northern Idaho. And then we go into this, like, we're on dirt roads up in the forest. And then like we walk on wood chips. We go into this little, like, everything's like little wooden structures. And there's this guy bearded out, like looking like a North Face, Patagonia style hiker, dude. His name is Lars. And I don't even know how I got that. And he's sitting there on this thing, and they're like, take your clothes off. Boom, butt naked. Like, take all your clothes off. They like search you. I'm not like spreading my ass, but everything but that. And they dress you right there, and then like, I'm like, what is going on? And they're like, your parent has sent, has set this up for you to go to Ascent Wilderness Camp. And this is for a 6-week program. And you'll get a letter from them shortly. And my mom had a pre-written letter that they require. And I just read that thing, and that's as far as that went.
Damn. Dude, we're talking what, like 25 years ago? Something like that? Like, man,
this was 2002.
Okay. how times have changed. Think about that right now.
Yeah.
Like you take that like shithead kid first of all, and you would like the mom wouldn't even attempt to like reprimand him. They put him in like a safe place.
He's finding himself.
Yeah, he's expressing himself, right? If he wants to lash out or rage out, like that's just he's expressing himself. Something to your point, like and like kids being fucking pussies, you need some of those old school values.
Well, you touched on it. The parents are pussies too, because you go back to those times, like nowadays, that those parents are letting that kid act out and be a shithead, right? And they're making excuses for him. But then they're also at dinner with another couple, and that couple, instead of being like, "Hey, you need to fucking do something with your kid," right? He's
That's
being a
gonna go over
shithead.
well.
You're not. They're going to allow that, right? But we talked about this. Bullying is probably the wrong word to use because it's got such a negative connotation. But without, for the lack of a better term, bullying is good for a certain point because there would be other parents around that be like, hey, we're either not hanging out anymore or you need to do something with your fucking kid. He's breaking shit. He's becoming a real pain in the fucking ass, right? You need to do something. And they wouldn't allow it either. They'd figure out not to get off topic, but it just 21 years ago.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's crazy. Like, as you're talking about this, I got all these memories coming back because I've got, I mentioned my buddy, great buddy, like one of my best friends. My mom wouldn't let me hang out with him when we reached a certain point because he was a fucking evil kid, right? He's a fuck up. And that was great. Like that was great what she did.
I've heard your stories as a kid. He must have been bad.
Oh yeah, because I was going down the wrong path too, right? And she separated us. So, and you look at this, right? He's got, at that time, we were in junior high school. He had an older brother, 2 years older than him. He died of a drug overdose in junior year of high school, and his little brother, my best buddy, they sent him away. Today, he's 41 years old, successful, has a family, straightened his ass out. If you'd have coddled him and taken
he'd have followed the same path.
Yeah, he'd be gone, So
and I agree with that.
Love, man.
It's tricky now for sure, but you got to think with my position, like when my mom found out she was pregnant with me, the guy who knocked her up, my biological father, he was over here. He's Australian. He came over here to learn how to fly a old British Sea Fury from my uncle, and he had a wife and kids. So my mom's like, I didn't even think I could have a kid. My mom had me when she was 39 years old. So that's pretty abnormal. And you have to think, if there's no father around, what was she going to do?
Right.
And then where does that go? It's a pretty solid idea for someone in her position,
Sure.
Wow. It's wild.
So, and to your, like talking about the, family of kids and stuff and getting in trouble. I've watched other kids, like I remember in middle school and high school where it's like a family of kids, and I don't want to say their names, but I remember this family of kids, and all of them went down a bad path. And even then I knew it. And like now, they're all like either in prison or on drugs, and, it's the same thing because nobody could do something, Yeah. And I don't, the new generation of kids, I'm more of a hater than anything on it. And I feel like they're all like Gentile style kids. They're just, it's hard to say it without being critical, and I don't want to be critical and come off like that. But like for instance, I have Colin working for me, and he's my lead fabricator. He's 25, and he is one of the best examples of a kid I've ever seen, and his parents are extremely involved with him, and he lived kind of in the country, and and then you have other kids that you experience who are 25 that don't have jobs, that don't drive cars.
Yep.
I mean, surely don't know how to drive a stick shift, don't know how to change tires, don't know how to work on stuff. And then I'm like, you guys are supposed to be in our military?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fucked.
Whoa. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
You guys want to hear my 18-year-old up now?
Yeah, dude, let's go. I mean, that's an interesting start. I mean, it's cool to hear it's cool to hear what shaped you. So now we're 18. I mean, where are you going from there? You're back in civilization.
18, I came home. I was in really good shape because I worked out up there. You're still in a institution kind of. So I was working out. I was kind of an airhead when I came home, and I just, my stepdad that my mom married into, he had a industrial steel fabrication shop called Herdig Iron Works, and it was him and his brother ran this thing, big steel erecting shop, all structural steel, cranes, big gantries, forklifts, punches, all the stuff. And I had like messed around a little bit with a welder when I was 16, 17, but nothing. And then like this was just I didn't know what I wanted to do. I came out of there and I was a good kid, but I didn't like have any ambition. Let me tag back into something. When I was 11 years old, my mom got me lined up with this guy, Ed Wong. And Ed Wong, he was an instructor at Art Center College of Design. A lot of those dudes over there that design cars, Korean dudes, like they kill it. They're assassins. Ed was an instructor over there, and she got me to take lessons from him out of his house when I was 11 on visual communication and figuring out three-dimensional sketching and stuff like that. But
That's cool.
it was more of a thing like Morgan's really good. We can teach this, and he'll be some savant when he gets older. But I'm 11. I'm like, where's the BMX jumps at? We're good. I don't need this stuff. So it lasted a little bit. And I had that dream to design cars 11 or 12 years old. Now back to 18. I started the structural steel job, and those guys are all old timers over there. They do not you don't get a win because you're the boss's stepson. So I ground handrail. That was my first job. I would sit there and there'd just be like 1.5-inch pipe handrail with MIG welds on it, blown out MIG welds. And I'd sand that shit for months, like just like on horses in the shop. And then it was like, okay, got that. And little did I know these guys were like molding my foundations, my fundamentals, like blending welds and cleaning things. And then it was like, okay, punch some stuff. And I'd be on the punch for months, just hydraulic punching stuff and using the crane and loading it in there. And then it was cut stuff. And then they gave me a cut list. And it was just a slow burn, but they were just starting me like at the bottom. And it was really incremental when I think about it. And, operating the forklift, operating all the big cranes, like, all that stuff. I remember it was so cold working at that place because it was like a shop where it just had this and then the sides, but the shorter portion of the rectangle was just open. So like in the mornings, you start at 6 or 6:30. And I know you guys get a little different temperatures there, but for me, it was cold. I remember putting my gloves and the thing to heat up the electrodes, like the stick welding. I'd put them in this little oven every morning, dude, like to the point where they were burning just so I could try to get something, that lasted for a while. And then I got back into that thing about Art Center. Are you guys familiar with Art Center?
A little bit. Yeah. I don't know a hell of a lot about it, but.
Okay, so just Art Center is where Chip Foose graduated. Yep. That's like the easy one. A lot of guys that have some really like impactful design have gone to Art Center. And that like there's also CCS in Detroit. Do you know CCS?
That I don't know.
I've heard of it.
I remember it as a skateboard catalog.
Art Center.
It's a great catalog.
Art Center is this prestigious school in Pasadena.
Yeah.
Primarily specializing in transportation design. Like they render, when you're in your eighth term, which is like your 8th semester, all the big corporations, BMW and everybody, they don't look for new employees anywhere else. They go to Art Center first. They go, okay, who are these good guys that are going to graduate? And they pluck them, So your attrition rate for success graduating that school, great. But you have to, just to get accepted there, you have to take prerequisite classes that are like night classes that are off campus. And then you have to do a portfolio and develop this portfolio that has to have like projects in it, like a mass transportation project and like all this shit just to get accepted. And I started to do that. I'm like, I'm going to pursue this. I want to go to Art Center. Because my dream when I was younger is I want to be a car designer. Like I want to wear a suit and I want to work in a corporate office and work with a team and, be a car designer. Now, thank God I don't do that because that's not the shit.
Yeah.
I started taking all those classes and I remember I got rejected the first time. I don't know how I didn't give up because I don't think my self-esteem was at a point where I was relentless like I am now. But that I got rejected. I did more classes. I turned in another application and I got accepted. And I remember like driving, I had a Silverado SS, just, like a pickup truck. And I remember like I was crying just driving, like, because I got this letter and I got accepted. And I got in there, and I started going, and I got through 3 terms, which is just like I said, semesters. It's the same kind of way you can chalk it up.
Sure.
I had vices going on, drinking, partying, not prioritizing things. Same time frame, 2008 or 2009 hits, and my stepdad is paying for all this. It's not like there's not a lot of scholarships. It's a trade school. It's not something where they just hand these things out. So most people are on their own dollar, in this place. And I was slacking on stuff, and I can blame it on the recession and all that shit that happened in 2008 and 2009, but that's not really it. I think that they would have still pulled through for me, but I wasn't pulling my own weight properly. And I just remember prioritizing like partying and going out over like doing what I needed to do. And I did good for a while, and just like anything, it just kind of took me to my knees, and we had to pull out, and they stopped. They're like, dude, you're not doing your part. Like, we can't pay for this. We're almost going to lose our business because of what's going on with other stuff. We can't pay for you anymore. Boom. Drop out. That's a part of my life. I didn't hold that over myself or think of myself as a failure. I think that, they say the universe only gives you as much as you can handle. I don't think I could have handled doing that because I wasn't in a spot, to mentally to be taking on what I should have been there. I was always top of my class when I was there. I was top 3 no matter what with everything. And it was a natural thing for me. But again, when you're a slacker, none of that shit matters. It's like talented fabricators. It's the same thing. You can be super good, but if you can't show the fuck up every day and you can't be consistent, then that guy that does that's a mediocre guy, is gonna fucking run circles around you.
Yep.
Oh,
dude, I've seen that time and time again. I mean, we've seen some guys that have, very little experience and don't have the natural gift, but have the fucking work ethic. And then on the flip side, like, we've had some dudes like that are truly gifted, like that it is no effort, phenomenal fabricators, but just can't get their shit together. Want to party, want to do something. They just like a free fucking spirit, man, and it's a shame.
This is an overgeneralization, but you see that all the time, specifically in sports and nearly all talents, that a naturally talented or naturally gifted or born with that gift, it's almost a curse because you have been so good for so long, and generally everything has come so easy that when push comes to shove and things are a little bit harder, you're not used to working hard. So the kid that has had to work hard to learn how to catch or learn how to throw or learn how to weld or something like that, even though he wasn't maybe naturally gifted and probably can't weld just as good as that other guy or throw the ball just as hard as that other guy, he's had to work so hard to get to where he's at. He almost sometimes can succeed further because the hard work isn't new to him.
Yeah.
The work ethic, you're either born with or you're not.
Sure.
But then the talent, you're either born with or you're not. But sometimes if you're born with the talent and you don't have the work ethic, you've never had to develop the work ethic.
So you think if you could choose one,
I don't know.
like dumb with a phenomenal work ethic, or brilliant and fucking lazy? Where you
dumb with the way because that's the way I was born, dumb with a good work ethic. So I don't want to change. So I'll just do the same thing I am right now.
Well, to piggyback on that, I think that you can't build talent into people. People are born with talent. I think that you can build work ethic into people. I think you can build structure and consistency into people that might not have it, just because that's the same thing, like myself, like you could say I was talented when I was born with my artistic abilities and my creative abilities. I was born with that. I was not born with work ethic. I was not born with a father that could discipline me. I was not born with those things. And now I have them, and I've acquired those through trials and tribulations, so I'm going to pick talent. I think talent with a lot of this fabrication stuff, both in any motorsport stuff, I think talent really is your ability to how fast you can learn something and how efficiently and fast you can do that thing. That's the talent, because this stuff is a trade at the end of the day.
Yep.
It's definitely a skill set, but it's not something that you could, as long as the guy's ambitious and wants to get some and has a good brain on his shoulders, you know, you could learn anything like this, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, man. You persevered. I suppose you're right. Yeah, at the end of the day, you can't replace the talent. You can't learn talent, pure raw talent.
Do you think more people born with raw talent figure it out at the end of the day and learn the work ethic?
I think it's a rare breed. It doesn't happen that often.
Right.
You got it the hard way, you know, from what it sounds like, but it was a good combination for you.
Well, I think the talent thing, a lot of people that have talents, they're always, it's a blessing and a curse, like you guys mentioned. And I think a lot of them fall subject, same with musicians. They're into drugs. They're into like vices. They have to have some other, it's like a yin and yang, you know, like you don't get all that without getting some of down there.
Yep.
And you have to figure that out, or else one's going to take you.
Well,
and I think that's what that's
specifically
does.
true on the creative side. If you're creative, anything, right? It could be from home construction, architectural, it could be welding, it could be car design, it could be anything. But if you're a creative minded person and you're wanting to create, that is the same thing as any other type of an addiction, because you're getting high.
Yeah.
The dopamine, you're getting high off of the creation, right? And so you're chasing that next thing. I mean, you just look at history from comedians and rock stars and singers and any kind of creative thing. That's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Right.
No, 100%.
You're chasing the next fucking thing, and you're only as high as that last thing that you got to create, and then you're instantly coming down. And we see it in the fucking car thing. We talk about it all the time or whatever. As soon as you leave that show for the first thing you've done or whatever, like you're super excited, but then as soon as you come down, it's almost like, fuck, where can I get another bump? Like that's just
SEMA next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that, you got to mix some of that. A lot of creatives, I don't know how you guys feel about ADHD and if you believe in stuff like that. I have ADHD on a crazy level. And a lot of this, I wonder if it's just because I was born, like my mom was so old that when I was born, maybe I have some weird shit where I'm a little autistic or some little bit of retardation where I got some good stuff. But I think there's something there. And that's why I always say, like, dude, my forehead, that's a natural forehead, dude. And when you think about that,
so
I've seen other people like that.
So you don't have like this going on where it's just age? Dude, this has been the
thing, dude, for a long time, So
I think we started.
I don't know. I have that ADHD where that is a lot of that stuff is based off of impulsive instant gratification too. Right. It's the same thing, right? Like on to the next thing, like what's going to get that fix, and that creative, you mix that where you can do something and then you can go, I'm going to do this. Cool.
Yep.
Next one. That's that same thing.
Yeah. You guys know anybody like that? No.
Yeah. Never.
Yeah. We may or may not have somebody on the team.
When are you going to refill your glasses?
Personality, but
when do you guys refill your glasses?
We've been there, dude.
We've been.
It's about time.
I'm on my second. You're on your first.
I switched brands altogether.
Phil's moving over to tequila. I saw Phil
Yeah.
sneaks away and cracking.
That shit was harsh. I wasn't a fan.
Really?
I wish I could have came out there. I would have loved to sit at that table.
We can do it again, man.
Round two.
You should have. Do you ever make it out this way ever?
That would be a genuine hit right there. Maybe I can bring a special vehicle or something next time. We have some really wild things we're going to work on that are going to change the world. Well,
absolutely.
That's a dumb thing to say, but they're going to be very different in the off-road community. So drop out of art center, go back to work for my stepdad. I'm living at my mom and Gary's my stepdad. I'm living at mom and Gary's house in San Clemente. I'm drinking almost every night. Definitely familiar with cocaine. And it's like I'm going to bars or something, meeting my buddies, like just no ambition. I had a Gen 1 CTSV, and And that was like my pride and joy, that little beautiful car. And it wasn't that old then, because you got to think those came out in 2006. This is like 2008 or 9. So it was pretty fresh. And manual, I love that car. Cars are like suits, and that car was such a suit for me. And I crashed it, I totaled it, and I was drinking. I didn't get a DUI, but the car was gone. I took money from that and I got a C5 Z06. And that car was cool, but it was a pain in the dick because it was lowered and it was straight. You'd go like in the gas stations where the fill caps were, like, and then you'd scrape your ass. And then the overhang was, and the front was crazy. So you're like, it was cool on the highway.
California's fucked.
And you had to wear New Balances, which probably sucked too.
And have a custom plate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I had that for a little bit, and then I'm like, dude, what am I doing? I'm not in college. Like, I don't need a commuter car that's like small and efficient. I just want to get back into off-road and get back into the desert like scene. I want to go to the desert again. I need a pre-runner.
Is this still like registering with you that original?
I put up an ad on this. What's that?
I said, is it registering in your mind that those original pre-runner trucks you saw? At this point, is that still lingering back there?
Well, a part I left out, now that you say that, is like 19 to 20, 21 or 22. My mom bought me a pre-runner Ford Explorer when I was 17, and it had a roll cage in it, but it was basic. And I rebuilt that. I started rebuilding that thing when I was started doing the structural steel thing in the garage. Classic dude, MIG welder, chop saw, grinder. I'm going to build something sick. And I had no business doing that, but I started doing that, and that was my goal was to build this badass pre-runner. It never happened. I put that stuff in storage when I went to Art Center, and then I ended up selling it. So that was registering, but the pre-runner stuff didn't hit yet. No, it all the stuff that imprinted in me wasn't there yet, and I know when that comes in. But really, I just wanted to get back out in the off-road scene. I got this Z06. At least this is something of value. I can just, if I can trade it, I don't have any money, so I can trade it. I put it on this forum or website called whiteboystoys.com. And it was
dude, that's a
great website.
That sounds like a different kind of website.
I wonder who owns that.
Is that a classified website, or what do they sell?
I wonder who owns that domain right now.
I mean, if you just type in White Boys Toys on other websites, you probably
yeah. I don't want that in my search history, man. No.
Yeah,
right. Because that's going to be the nail in the coffin. Yeah.
I bet if you spell boys with a Z at the end, it even different.
Yeah.
Or BOIIS.
Yeah.
I might go to a different spot.
Yeah.
So anyways, I put it on there. Some guy from Vegas wanted to trade me for I put on there, we'll trade for 4-door V8 pre-runner. And I'm like, whatever, we'll see. And some got hit, and he had his Super Crew 4-door, and it had beams on the front on 35s. And what I mean by beams on the front is instead of having A-arms like it normally would have, it had someone put a I-beam twin traction beam like an F100 on the front. Super bro points on that all the way through, So
did it come with the flat bill?
I went and I met him in Barstow. I traded that thing up, and then I took it out Christmas Eve. Talk to you else. It was okay. I took it New Year's to Glamis or Imperial Sand Dunes, and I drove it on the sand. I got off, and then I drove it on the sand for 4 days, maybe 3 days. It didn't think a thing about it, and I drove out there solo and camped with friends. On the way back, and I probably had a 2.5-hour drive home. On the way back, I right as I exit the sand and out of the OHV area, and I get on the highway, I get to 40 miles an hour, and the gnarliest death wobble you've ever experienced in your life. And I go back down to 38, and then it goes away. And I'm like, oh my God, we're screwed. So I drove the freeways home at 38 miles an hour for 4 hours straight. So, and I'm hungover, by myself, probably smell like shit. So I got back and I was working 410s for my stepdad. And that has a lot of relevance to this because I told him, I towed the truck back there. It's not drivable. And I'm like, Gary, can I work on this truck and fix it? on my free time. And, you know, he approved to do that. So I had to keep it outside. I built this cart for it. It was a heavy ass truck. So I built this cart for it and I'd tow it in with the forklift into the shop, you know, every Friday morning or Thursday night. And I worked on this thing with passion from, you know, I worked 410s and, you know, then Friday comes around and I'm there at 7 and I don't leave till like 7 or 8 p.m. And then Saturday, Sunday, I do the same thing. And then Monday through Thursday, all I'm doing while I'm working is, and I'm doing like bullshit structural, architectural stuff. All I'm doing is thinking about that truck and thinking what I'm going to do next. How am I going to attack it? Like my brain is going efficiency style on this thing. And then like the weekends would come and I'd do it again. It turned into fixing the steering. And I'm like, oh, well, why don't we just build new beams? Why don't we just, you know, build all this? Why don't we TIG weld all this? You know, like, and I had that like resurgence of, I call it artistic diarrhea on that truck, because I had no creative outlet. So working on that thing, I would just go hard. And I put this crazy design into it. Like all the plate work's all crazy and it's all triangulated and like, it's good. Now I look at it now and like just, you know, it's in my driveway. I would never do it again like that. But I put like that changed my life for a year and a half. Throughout that time, I found out my mom had cancer. Well, you know, my mom was my everything. And I found out my mom had cancer. And then I found out that we were having a baby. I've been with Taylor, my wife, since I was 16, on and off. One of like the few people that have been with the same girlfriend forever. That doesn't mean that I have not created an extreme amount of chaos and, you
in
know,
between there.
Wreckage, if you will, with that. But anyway, I found out she was pregnant. That made me like, I'm like, all right, well, if I'm gonna put my family in there or my mom in this thing, I want to cage this thing. So then I started doing like constructing a roll cage, and it was my outlet. It was my creative outlet. And I think to tag into that, like what you talked about with like people that are creative or talented, I went from going to art center, which is like this prestigious, you know, school, and being like this top performing guy, and every day was drawing like close to 100 sketches a day when I was doing my assignments. And then I went to like, boom, working with like a bunch of replaceable people essentially, and feeling like that, wearing steel toe boots and just being grungy and like coughing on aluminum fumes and like the whole deal. And I like knew in my head, I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing more than this. And I don't know what that is, and I don't know how to do it. I just know that this is not what I'm supposed to fucking be doing. That truck gave me a window. Her name is Beth. I name all these vehicles, and Beth gave me a window to just have an outlet. And that's so important for guys, you know, especially like people like us that like to build things and create things, like having something to just focus on and you know, obsess on and create, right? Cool, more. That was a huge thing. It got me through hard times with my mom and stuff. And then, you know, I remember Taylor, this doesn't sound good, but I remember Taylor in there like spray painting the cage while she's pregnant, like spraying all the interior and stuff outside, but still like being a part of around that time. It was 2012 maybe. My buddy Johnny Branch, who's an OG like bike builder and hot rod builder guy. I don't know if you know him. He's kind of a low key guy, but I was friends with him, and he's like, do you know what Instagram is? Nope, don't have a clue. He's like, it's cool. You just post pictures. He's like, I think people will really like what you're doing, because I was posting stuff on forums, and that was like, you guys remember forums?
Yeah, that era was like heavy with the forums. Glad that the forum era is gone.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the shit.
I loved the forum era.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It was like clicky, you know. They were like people and cliques and like talking shit.
You're right
like,
about that.
Yeah, but there was information,
massive criticism and shit talking on all levels.
Hey everybody, I'm Andy Stumpf, host of the Ironclad original Change Agents. For over a decade, Ironclad has worked with brands and individuals to create world-class films, series, podcasts, and ad campaigns. In fact, I've been working with Ironclad for the past few years. I was introduced to them on a project through the Navy SEAL Foundation. I've worked with them on a variety of projects, even up here in Montana, long before they proposed the idea of change agents to me. They're the best in their field. And I say that because there are plenty of people out there looking for the best, looking for the cream of the crop, looking for the top of the triangle. And if you're looking for that, you need to look no further than Ironclad. If you ever need media by way of film, a series, podcasts, or ad campaigns, they have you covered. You can reach out today and follow them anywhere at This Is Ironclad, the ampersand, and then This Is Ironclad, or visit them online, thisisironclad.com. Again, www.thisisironclad.com.
But I came in there just like I have with my Instagram, and I'm pretty shameless about what people say or anything. And I just posted pictures on the forums. Oh, like every weekend on Sunday night, I'd like do all the shit, drop all these pictures and like say, this is what I did, guys, blah, blah. And it started getting like a good following, but branches like, dude, post on Instagram. It's just picture based. Remember, there's like a reason for all this stuff. So I go on and I get the app and I start posting, and like, people start like, I'm solo building this thing in a structural steel shop. I don't know the outside world. I don't talk to anybody in the off-road industry, anybody that does motorsports fabrication. I'm just going for it based off of what I've seen on the internet. And that's it. My own education from 16 to current. And that goes on where I start, like, people are like, dude, badass, blah, 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 this and that. And it's not so much like a validation thing, but it's a seeing like, wow, I'm on the right track with something here. People are like getting stoked on what I'm doing out of my own passion, that was something. And fast forwarding some of that stuff, I needed to get some like steering tie rods bent. They were 3/8 wall chromoly, I think it's 375 wall is what you'd say for decimal, but big chromoly tie rods. And I didn't have a bender. I hit up this guy. I called around like locally. I called Camberg Racing in Huntington, talked to Jerry Zayden or Camberg Engineering. And then he's like, oh, Jamie Campbell at Raceco, he can hit him up. So I called Jamie and I was like, hey, it's Morgan Clarke, this and that. And like, I think he already knew me from Instagram. And I go down there and he's the cool guy. He's like, he's probably 30 when I met him or something. And no, 35. And I looked up and it was something like I was like talking to another dude. Like it was like a big brother style. He's like, when are you going to stop fucking around and building stupid ass handrails and build cool shit? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, come work for me. He's like, stop building fucking stairs and shit, dude. Like just like a bro, just talking shit. And he's like from South County, like Orange County, and like Cameron Steel and Desert Assassins and all these guys. And
I feel like you just described every dude from California. The voice, the way you describe him, like that's everybody I've met
from the Midwest point of view. Yeah.
Dude, come on, fucker. Let's
fucking Jesse.
Yeah, let's
pretty typical. He's got that kind of squeaky voice, talking shit, So he like his brother's Johnny Campbell Johnny's raced. I'll fuck this up, but I think he's overall the Baja 1000 on a bike 11 times or something.
Jesus.
So Honda factory rider. And Jamie's got this pedigree like his brother and all connected. And I had a falling out with my stepdad. I don't know at what point. My mom's fighting cancer. We're doing chemo. I shave her head. I shave my head. Like we're doing everything we can. Every time she has a surgery, stuff fucks up. Like it's a problem. I'm sleeping in the hospital a bunch of nights. Meanwhile, my wife is getting ready to have a kid. We have some falling out, and I think it was after my mom passed away. I lost my mom, just to piggyback on that. I have like this cancer thing, and I don't like fuck cancer or anything, but just that was my one thing. And I told myself, I was like that kid where I'm like, dude, if I lose my mom, I'm fucking taking my life. I don't give a fuck. Like that's it. That's how connected I was to her. And that's the way the world works. We have Logan, our son, and Logan is born, and his first birthday, my mom passes 1 week before he turns 1 year old.
Shit.
And I'm like, that's why he's here,
to keep you around.
Yeah, it's crazy the way that works.
It is. And it you know, that was like she was in hospice. The way she passed, and I'll just touch on it really quick, but she had like a bowel obstruction, and boom, she went from like she had a Chevy SS non-Silverado, just the SS, the retro thing, you know, like the single cab fender looking thing.
Yeah.
Like 24 hours before, she's in the front yard. Like she stops by, all my buddies are outside. She drops us food, and then she drops the clutch and does a burnout in that thing. Boom. You know, she's got like a, you know, like a hippie looking thing over her head, shaved head. Like she has a colostomy bag in. Like she doesn't have her colon attached or anything, but she's great. She's like in high spirits. Has a party that night. Something in her bowels, like there was already cancer in there, and it was, just think about it like cheese on spaghetti noodles, right? That's the best way to do it. And something finally just and closed them. Like that's it. And like overnight, she goes in the hospital, and then boom, her doctor's like, "There's nothing we can do." He used that same analogy. It's like cheese on spaghetti noodles. Like there's nothing we can do to possibly get all this out. It's finally closed. She can't have anything to drink, anything to eat. She's gonna die in 5 days straight up. Like that's it. And I'm like, what? Just like that? And they medicated her so heavy that she wasn't ever coherent, like to the point where she like, okay, we got to figure this out. Okay, I'm going to pass away. No, it's just game over. So she's in hospice. She's down, you know, living at my stepdad's. I'm already moved out of there, and I sleep with her every night. And she goes from a week, she can't eat, remember, but she can get a little bit of fluid, and it goes from a week to almost 2 months. And she's deteriorated, and I'm carrying her in my arms while she's, you know, she's wet in the bed, and just like, you know, she's rotting away. And that's why I say thank God for Logan, because Logan was literally clicking, you know, he clicked a week after she passed away. And it was like that transition. Like I got a little miracle to keep us going, because I just didn't have it in me to, I probably was weak enough where I would have just taken my, you know, selfish enough to take my life like that. So gift.
Damn, dude, that's brutal. Brutal stuff.
Shit.
Yeah. So, you know, and that's how it goes. It's just, you can't plan for that stuff, and it's, but there's always something there to help you, you know, as long as you're aware to see it. Back to Jamie, I go to work for Jamie Campbell down at Raceco, and he's building race cars. And like first weekend, I have the fallout with my dad or stepdad. First weekend, I'm down there, and I'm building like all plate boxed 4130 like shock mounts for the rear of an F100 single cab. and it's like a surreal thing. And, you know, I'm like 2 weeks in on this stuff, and every day I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm able to get paid to do something cool. Like I can create something, and I'm being paid to do this. Like, mind you, I'm getting 21, 22 bucks, but I don't care, because I'm like, I'm able to create stuff with my hands and feel that value, you know, and the quality of life like that. That's where it was a thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm over it. Like I'm going to fabricate vehicles for people. Like I'm going to work for other people fabricating vehicles. You know, that was my pivot.
Are you realizing at that point, like, are you feeling the talent, recognizing the fact that, dude, I'm fucking pretty good at this? Like this is clicking for me.
No. I was still consumed with partying and drinking, right? A lot of that was still part of my story when my mom passed away, even though I had a kid, dude. Like still just, you know, they say you're not done until you're done, and nothing will get in front of that and stop that. And it's the same thing. Like I wasn't able, I was the talented dude that would fucking not show up or be late. Even a couple weeks in on that place, I'm still like, hey, not going to make it. Or maybe not even call, like that level shit. Right. But I had enough talent. Now when I look at it, that's why they didn't want to like get rid of me, because they're like, dude, when this guy comes in, he fucking throws down, and like he's fast.
How does that work now, being the boss?
But I'm clear. So Jamie, I stretched that out working at Jamie's as much as I could. We're working on a bunch of different stuff, being around like this. Jamie's a great teacher and a mentor. So I credit him with a lot of like my start and my foundation and fundamentals with motorsports fabrication. He had patience and acceptance. And it just got to a point, I think I ripped like my ankle open on our pit bike track I was drunk, and I hurt my foot, couldn't come in. He's like, dude, he's like, I can't keep doing this. Like, you're here, sometimes you're not here. Like, it's great when you are, but I tell my clients I'm going to get stuff done, and then you're not showing up, and then it's screwing us. And like, I get it all now, like as a business owner. Hell yeah, get that. Thank you for what you did. So then I transitioned, and I hit up this other shop in Murrieta. And it's funny. I just like it. Same thing with knowing your worth, right? And I don't think I was worth the hourly that maybe I could get paid because I was still not consistent. But I hit up Kevin at H&M, and I started down there, and that's where he goes, we got this 97 F-150 in here, same one as Solo, right? Same body style truck that I saw when I was 16. And he goes, I need you to do the firewall on it. Like, I want you to do this firewall. I've never done sheet metal. I've never used the bead roller. And he wants me to do the same shit that I saw when I was 16. And I'm like, I'm in a dream job. Like, this is it, and that is exactly when, like, I started really feeding my passion with the stuff. It's also when I started realizing that, like, my way of thinking for design and style was like above everybody that was employing me. And I don't mean that in like a bad way. I just mean, like, I would have power struggles where, like, I'm like, dude, let's do it like this. And they're like, nope, we do it like this, and this is how we do it. Or nope, that's going to cost too much. And it was like the classic shit, over and over. So eventually working for Kevin came to an end. I transferred to another place, like just jumping around, classic fabricator stuff. I'm still drinking.
Is this an attendance issue? Is that what brought it to an end? Is it having a hard time getting
what's
to work?
that?
Is it an attendance issue? Is he like, fucking get your ass to
with
work
Kevin? Yeah. So we would butt heads on like work stuff, but really, yeah, dude, like driving these guys into the ground because I'm like not consistent. And I am the child for the talented fabricator guy that can't fucking show up for a shit, like that.
Poster child for that. Dude,
I'm
it's
the poster
great you
child,
recognize this and you've learned from this. This is awesome. I like hearing this.
It is what it is. Like, it's nothing. I'm not proud of it or not like any of that stuff. Like, that doesn't matter because it's not who I am now.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of that came from from my own vices. It's not, I don't think that that's my programming in my brain as a natural pure human. I think that I put that in me because of my pain, because how I was trying to cope. And that, like, my trauma and my pain I was running from, and that came in the way of picking up booze on the way home from the shop every day and drinking till I fucking was done drinking at 12 or 1 and then not wanting to wake up, like, just, but that was like, I addressed that and identify that as the issue, not like, because you got to think with the other hand where we talk about work ethic, like we mentioned, I work structural steel and I had to show up every single day. There was no fucking around there. Yeah. So, it was only the race shops where my manipulative only child brain's like, oh, I can miss, or, I'm of value. At structural steel shops, like, I have to be there at 6 or 6:30 every single day. If I go to bed at 3 or 3:30 and I have an hour and a half drive, guess what? Cool. You're going to do that. And the work mentality at the structural steel jobs, get it done, hurry the fuck up. How long? Like, it is consistent crunching and rushing in that shop all the time. It is like under the gun. It's not about quality. It's about getting the shit done. That probably is also what made it so much sweeter when I was working for the guys, because I would work like aggressively when I was there. I would walk fast to the brink of running, and I would attack things. But again, I wasn't consistent, so it could never hold up. Same cycle, go to another shop. I work for this guy and he's great, and he lets me have a lot more creative freedom. This is almost to the point where I'm on my own here. I have a lot more creative freedom. This guy gives me $10 more an hour right off the bat. It's Cali Customs. Adam Ramirez runs Cali Customs, and it's more of a private shop, but I did a side job for him on the weekend, and it was so fast. I came through and I did it in a couple of weekends. I caged an entire Silverado, and he's like, dude, come work for me. He's like, I'll pay you, $10 more or whatever than you get. Didn't even ask me. And I jumped and I did that. And I was commuting. So I was driving an hour and 45 minutes one way every single day. Dude, when you live in LA and you like get used to that, it was a thing. Like, I'm like, oh, that's just what I do.
Well, that's like a 4-mile commute.
Yeah,
right.
It's not that far. You gotta walk quicker.
It was 34 miles.
Okay.
And it took an hour 45 in the morning.
Fuck no. I don't care how many times a year it's 73 degrees. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is fucking brutal. We used to, our shop used to be like, 35 miles away, maybe. It was a 45-minute commute, but it was highway. Almost no traffic, right? It's fine. I would fucking kill myself if I had to sit. I would not do it, dude.
I drive 300 miles out of the way just so I was moving.
Just to stay moving.
I don't mind the drive as long as
the time is not the thing, but it's the
sitting. It's the sitting. Yeah. I don't mind. Like when I worked at H&M, it was 59 miles, but I was doing 80 miles an hour the whole time. So who cares?
Yeah.
But man, that crawl, it literally, I get on the freeway, and right when I get on the freeway, I sit in traffic for an hour, 45 minutes, just there. And well, now I look at it, I'm like, oh, it makes me have anxiety thinking about that, But when you're in it, it's just like everything else. You get accustomed to it, and you're not able to see it. I'm working down there, and Ryan Kibbe, I don't know if do you guys know Kibbe Tech?
Yeah, he's been on the podcast.
We had him on the podcast.
Yeah.
Well,
oh, right on. Cool. So Ryan Kibbe, constantly on my Instagram. And at this point I do realize that I have a skill set and I do build things differently and they look different than a lot of people's stuff. Like you asked when that was a pivotal thing or whatever. I think it was that thing of like, it seems to get traction on social media. I didn't have enough confidence in myself or, self-esteem to like believe in myself in a fashion internally. So I think a lot of that was like, well, cool, look at people like it. Like I must be doing something right.
Sure.
Ryan was always in my DMs every day, like, come work for me, come work for me, come work for me. And, he was 77 miles away from, which is a big jaunt in SoCal, from any of our family and stuff. And he gave me a deal I could not resist. And I told him, you got to find me a house. And, I don't have credit. I'm getting paid cash. I don't have proof of income. Like I can't rent a house and I'm not going to do the drive. So if you find me a rental house, I'll come work for you. 1 week later, he found me a rental house. I moved out there. My son Logan was going to kindergarten still. So, Taylor, my wife, and Logan, they stayed out where we were. And then I moved into this house in Thousand Oaks near his shop. And I started working there. And it was tough because, again, I'm bringing vices. I'm on a honeymoon start with a job, right? You call it that, where you do good for some weeks till you start to fall off.
Yep.
And that's probably a good phrase for it. And I was a lead fabricator there and, like shop manager, if you will. And I was working around all the guys there and I was very focused for a bit, but I was also same thing, like I'm living by myself in this little house, nobody's there during the week, I'm lonely, like boozing, and I don't care about you guys drinking. I could give a fuck, like this is my story. That's why I say, oh, you still need to fill up, you're all fucked up still.
I'm good, dude. But yeah, sorry if I'm just like crushing bourbon over here if you're this is going the direction I think it is.
So like Ryan, I had like a lot of shit going on with Ryan, and I only can credit myself for like not being mentally sound and where I should be, and full of insecurities and sensitive, and like I can't take jokes, and the environment is way more like ego and attitudes and bullshit, and I wasn't in a place to handle that. Now, if I had to go work somewhere like that now, I wouldn't, because that's not the kind of work environment I like. But it's not that it's a bad work environment. It's just not my style of thing. When I'm there, we have, at some point we have a fallout. The details probably not good for anything to talk about, but it ends up being, you know, I had several instances there where I told myself, I'm like, I'm never fucking working for anybody ever again. That was like my thing. Just like, week after week, I'd have something happen and I'd like either talk to Taylor or a friend and I'd be like, dude, I don't know what to do. I don't like have money or anything. And I don't know how I'd ever have a shop, but I am never going to work. If something like after this, I'm never doing anything I'm never going to work for someone. Logan's first day of first grade at his new school out here. I just moved Taylor and like all of our stuff into this house. It was like our first, I moved him in. He finished kindergarten, new school. I get let go. I think that primarily had to do at that point with like financial stuff with Ryan, and just had to trim the fat, and I was a very expensive person. It doesn't help when you're still late, showing up on time, missing, doing fucked off shit. So it makes it a little easier to let someone go like that, I'm sure.
I thought you were gonna say you just didn't like gold anodized parts, and so you quit. Like what are you talking about? Like fuck this.
So I was there when that was when he got the first machines. I was there. One of the guys that helped out with those machines, he was very helpful and he was a solid dude, TJ. He even loaned me a vehicle and my car was down. He was solid, but I remember that was the first, like we would have conversations like, we're going to start putting billet. We're going to do billet shock mounts. We're going to do billet. Like it was just like talk shit on like how much stuff we're going to do out of billet. And that was when he first got those machines. But he had some big orders and stuff. And I think he was trying to segue into having some kind of revenue come in that was not just custom fab, because I understand how tricky that is to run a successful business just doing that.
Sure.
That whole thing happens, and when that fallout happens, I'm so pissed. I don't know how to handle my feelings more than just being angry, building resentments. I'm like, for a year and a half, I was telling people, if I see fucking Ryan in the grocery store, I'm gonna have someone's gonna hold my kids. I'm gonna fuck them up in the aisle. Like I don't care. That's how it's gonna go. That's like where I was at, and what a fucking waste of energy. But I had the week that happens. It's Labor Day and Labor Day weekend, so it's a Tuesday. It happens. Wednesday, I tell myself I'm gonna figure this out, and then by Thursday, I'm gonna know what I'm doing. And I had it was a real crisis. We didn't have money in the bank. I was going paycheck to paycheck, and it was just a crisis. It was like a huge crisis, like shaking, like I don't know what we're gonna do. That was such a pivotal moment because my mom used to say crisis is change trying to take place. And that's really like how that works. You don't understand that it's change that's happening. You think it's the end of the world, but it's really just another direction that you're going to go. And I rose to that occasion right at that point. I think I was a week clean from just anything. I was just I was already trying to choose a path to like clean up. So, I wasn't as frequent, drinking as much or anything. I was, I think weekly maybe or something, but I was a week clean. I just lost my best friend and he got in a car crash the week before, and I kind of just like kicked stuff and, I get back and I'm like, I'm going to know what I'm doing by Thursday. So I was on the phone from Wednesday morning to Wednesday night with all the big heavy hitters in the off-road industry, and everybody's calling me. And, it's what happened the Tuesday when I got let go. Wednesday morning, like a fucking immature piece of shit, I go out, I grab all my Kibby Tech shirts, and I'm on my Instagram story throwing these things in the trash can one by one. Thursday morning, Logan, my son, is throwing Kibby Tech shirts in the trash can that we found. Like, dude.
Yeah.
So
the burning the bridges, man. You gotta, you never know. You just never know.
What's that?
Right? I said it's the burning the bridges scenario. You never do know what life's gonna bring you.
Yeah, and it's something I was just so resentful, and it came from being hurt. And I don't even blame him. We just had a bunch of shit we should have handled different, and it is what it is. But what it did for me, that's the thing with like Ryan, and I talk to Ryan now every week at least. And I've made amends with him, but that was the best gift I could have ever got. you got to think about this like that. Where we go now from that part of the story is why I'm talking to you guys right now. You know, that's the whole thing. That whole thing was a gift. And that's why I say like that with life and your path and thinking things are like, why the fuck is this happening? And like there's usually a plan that you just can't quite grasp until later. You know, you got to ride that out. I call these people on Wednesday, and you know, I get job offers and stuff, but it's just the same thing. Like, man, I got to drive. Like, I'm not out. I don't have a commute anymore. I'm driving 5 minutes to get to work. Um, I'm doing side work up at Evan Weller's shop, even when I was working at Run, just because you know I got like the hours got pulled back and a couple things leading up to that where I was doing side work. I was working, you know, 6 to 11 p.m. every night. And then on the weekends after I'd work a 10-hour day. So, you know, I exercised my options the best I could. And Evan's like, hey man, if you want, I'll pay you an hourly and you know, I have some specialty jobs that you can do and you know, in the meantime, and we'll go from there. So Evan started bringing, because like a lot of the work I do is specialty fabrication. It's not like really like simple stuff. It requires a little more forethought, and that's my bread and butter. So Evan started bringing jobs up to this facility and using, you know, he gave me a solid because I didn't have a shop. I had a couple tools from my garage from back in the day, like I mentioned, but they're all in storage or someone's borrowing them and putting hours on them. And Evan got me going, and then it turned into like people knew that I was kind of freelancing, and I started getting like I had a big following already, and I started everybody like I think out of not sympathy, but just out of like helping out, like, hey, you want to work on this? You want to do this? You want to do this? And it got so crazy so fast, and then it turned into I'm bringing stuff into his shop to build, and then it's like, hey, there's extra room at this facility, like we need to talk about renting, you know, next door, and renting that for yourself. And then I started like, I'm like, okay, well, 2020, I'm going to like start moving in and I'm going to start renting and, you know, I got an LLC, and mind you, like I stayed clean through all this, like that crisis made me stop shit. Like, just, this is it, because I was too afraid of like, how else can I fuck this up? And what's that going to look like?
Yeah,
Because it's
time
already
to get
bad.
fucking serious about it.
What's that?
It's time to get fucking serious about it, right?
Totally. And there's been a lot of lessons since then, but a lot of these lessons now are business lessons that are different. They're not like just like kicking myself in the ass, you know, or shooting myself in the foot or something. So it turned into 2020, like COVID time. Um, I got an LLC and I started operating out of my own like area and, you know, like a whole part of this facility. It's a 14,000 square foot building here that's got kind of partitions in it. So, and different bay doors. I'm still like, you know, I'm using Evan's shit, so I'm always going next door and I'm always like using this, using that, like grabbing this, and slowly I'm starting to buy my own tools, one by one. And like that's why I stress what a help that was, because if I had to just start on my own, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I didn't know people, and like I didn't have the means to ask for a loan or a business loan, or, you know, it was a clean transition.
Yeah.
And that's a huge lesson for all of us. You know, like the number one thing now, like anytime something really gets me and grinds my gears, I might, even if it's a text or it's something I have to respond to, I'll give that shit 24 hours straight up. Like, because I know what I do when I act out of emotion.
Sure.
And I know that it's always not favorable and optimal. You know, and usually whatever the fuck I say, it sounds way worse to the person hearing it than I actually think it even is coming out of my mouth.
Yeah,
Whatever your first instinct is, don't do that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Write the email, delete it.
Dude, and I'm done for a little bit.
Yeah.
So no, I like, you know, I made some phone calls that Wednesday that were also to his clients, and let them know, and like, you know, just, I poached a couple of them, but I didn't have that like confidence or the security within myself to even think about a business plan or anything. It was very like just kind of trickled into where we're at. And now when I look at it, yeah, like I could use an investor. I could use help into this next transition of what we're going to do and where we need to be in like a bigger facility. But I wouldn't even have that thought process unless I started to grow as a person with the business. Like I wouldn't have even known. Like nobody gives me a book on this shit. I don't have any mentors or people for the business thing, you know? So I've been up here. I'm still next door to Evan Weller. I have 2 full-time guys. I had 3, but it was just, I had to trim the fat. It just was running me out of capacity. And we've like, for me now, like my shit I'll preach is personal development, and mental health and physical health. And I've like dove off on this stuff for the last year at least, seeing a therapist, exercising, every single day, finding a routine, waking up early, being consistent. And that's what I do now. And I never was an early bird, and now I wake up at 3:30, and it's just like, I'm focused. I've spent so much of my life that other way of just being that party guy, and I'm just a fabricator, dude, rock and roll, dude, like all that fucking bullshit.
He's from California for sure.
Dude, yeah, classic, bro. What do you want to do? Like, let's go get beers. And I've done all that, and I've created the wreckage with my family, and I'm at a point where I want to be the best I can with everything. And I don't mean like just work. I mean, like, I want to be the best partner I can be. I want to be the best dad I can be. I want to be someone that I can be fucking proud of. I want to be someone that my family can be proud of, someone they can rely on, someone that can show up, someone that's consistent. Like, I want to be like, if I had a dad, like, who's that guy? How can I be that guy? And the good part is, like, I'm 38, but I probably feel 25. And I feel like I have a second life right now. And that's why, like, even what, like, reaching out to you guys and talking to you guys, because I'm at a point here where things are changing. That pivot of like turning into a motorsports fabricator is nothing compared to like what is happening right now with my life and with the business and our projects and our clients, and things are incredible.
Now I completely understand why the majority of your Instagram and social media, and even YouTube, is spent on trying to impart that wisdom and show the process and teach and knowledge transfer and stuff like that, when that is not, it's not the norm in the motorsports industry at all, especially not in the off-road performance, trophy truck world, of being like, hey, this is badass, but I want to show you how I did it. There's not a lot of guys in that world, and then not in our world either. They're like, hey, this is how you go through. This is my secret. This is the thing. Yeah. Everything for the last, close to 2 hours has made it now made me understand why you're doing the things that you're doing. Makes a lot of sense.
It does, and I see it like that too. And part of it, like, to kind of lean into that. When I was younger, and let's say younger, not meaning the first time I saw the pre-runners, but when I started seeing like more of those things when I was in my early 20s and stuff, you'd see a tube chassis truck, and I could tell like the suspension is not connected to frame rails. There is some gnarly stuff, and I'd see like the Stewart's Raceworks trucks were some of the first luxury pre-runners. That's people say luxury pre-runners now, and it's a frame and it's got like, no, I'm talking full shell on a tube chassis, trophy truck suspension, all interchangeable parts with a race car, sealed cab, smells like leather, air conditioning, shouldn't be street legal, has plates, that kind of stuff. I'd see that stuff and I'd be like, dude, how the fuck are those built? What is the process? Like, in my brain, like, how do you, like, what is that even? I see that thing and it's awesome, and it makes every dude think it's awesome, but what is the process there? That's step one. Now one more thing that to include is, at Art Center, they had every term, they had this very important thing called a process book. And the process book was a detailed book that you make that has pictures of every step. It has the tools that you used, and it shows a breakdown that any person can open it. You probably don't even have to know English just to understand it. And you do sketches of it in there and everything. And it's a process book. So I think all that, like, I see myself and I know what we're building, and I still have so much love and passion for it that's like, why not show people how that's done? Like,
That's cool.
and the thing is now, go ahead.
Dude,
Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I gotta ask you, because I look at what you're doing as being like the fucking top level. Like, we're not in the off-road community, like, you know, the pre-runner stuff, but I look at what you're doing and it's fucking sick. Who are you looking at that's like, that you admire, that still inspires you in your field?
I don't look at other stuff. I think that, and I don't, please don't take that with ego.
No, I'm just interested to hear where you seek inspiration from.
There's tons, inspiration's the key. There's tons of people that do off-road fabrication and they do really nice off-road fabrication. There's people that weld better. There's tidy sheet metal. There's all that going on. But the thing that I stress that makes something to me is design. And that's, you know, Morgan Clarke Design. Like, I love design. I love functional design. There's a lot of derivatives of racing fabrication. People build a race car and they want to build a pre-runner, and well, the race car has that and it looks like that, and then it's just so basic. And so I don't draw inspiration from any off-road fabricators, because I appreciate good work, but I don't see stuff where I'm like, damn, that guy has it. Like, nothing makes me go like, oh shit, I gotta watch out for this guy. Like, this is some badass shit.
Gotcha.
It's just I appreciate the good work, but no, I look at Lockheed Martin, Northrop Aviation, a lot of Formula One stuff. Exotic cars have extreme design, extreme functional design. Hot rod stuff, I look at your guys' stuff, you know, Ring Brothers stuff. Right now, Ring Brothers and Roadster Shop, you guys are at a very high level. Ring Brothers even more, maybe, and I don't mean a higher level than you guys, but I mean of like disconnected from being like a hands-on vehicle.
Sure.
You know?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fair. Not like that attainable. It's like, man, like it feels sterile. And it doesn't have a wholesome connection to you. So I draw inspiration from architecture, you know, anything aviation. I love, you know, all that stuff. And that's really what I thrive on.
Well, we come to the point we got some standard questions, but I'm going to tweak them a little bit, because I've been inspired and I've got some stuff picking up the thing. So I generally, one of the things we always ask is, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given? And we'll get to that in a sec. But I want to ask you, earlier in the conversation we talked about it. You know, Jeremy asked, would you rather be born, you know, with a good work ethic and less talent, or talent and no work ethic? I chose the way I was born, and that was, you know, stupid.
Yeah, I said it as dumb. And
yeah, stupid and work ethic, right? You know, I'll figure it out along the way, right? And you chose your path because of the way you think. But I'm interested to know what would be the advice that you would give to somebody that was born that same way, with a limited amount of work ethic? And I'm not going to say none, because you obviously had work ethic to continue to persevere. But would you not have, I'm not saying you want to change where you're at right now, but how did you know that last crisis was the last crisis? How many other guys out there that are going through it that don't have a work ethic but are super fucking talented could have gone through the first crisis and let that be the wake-up call? How many crises do you need to go through? How many fuck-ups with the family, or how many of that kind of stuff could you have had a better work ethic and less talent and ended up the same place that you're at right now with a lot less carnage? It's just a question.
You're trying to find the shortcut.
That's a fucking hell of a question.
Yeah, the shortcut to just iron it out.
That's what's in my head the whole time. Like, you keep saying you're the typical fabricator. Like, we've talked to a bunch of shops who have experienced a typical fabricator. We've experienced a typical fabricator.
How do you get them from being the typical fabricator
to where you are now, and realizing that you've been fucking shit up for quite some time, and you have the talent, and you just need to get your ass to work and make shit happen.
Yeah, that's and I get that. I know I'm not the typical fabricator now, and I do believe in change. You know, I don't think people are just stuck. But you know, sometimes they talk about divine intervention, and the other thing we say crisis, but we could also say rock bottom. I think that everybody has their limit, and rock bottom has many levels and many different areas. And I don't think you can bounce down there and come up and do it a bunch of times. I think that that's different for everybody, but I think really it's an awareness thing. Once there's indicators that let you know that you're not happy with the things you're doing or how you're doing them, that's the point of how much do you want to put yourself through to keep doing the same things and still get the same results. And because I knew I was fucking up for years, and I chose to keep doing that out of habit. And what that does too is that creates this guilt and this shame because you're doing the same shit. You're making promises to yourself that you're going to stop doing something, or you're going to be a better person, or you're going to show up, or you're going to do this. And then you're fucking breaking promises to yourself. And it's like, you can't build yourself into someone that's strong or have self-esteem or confidence when you're breaking promises to yourself, not even other people. I don't like the advice on that. I think for me, because I only have my own experience on this thing, is I had a vice. I was using and drinking. And stopping that was my absolute ticket to success. So if there's someone that's in a position where they're fucking up and they don't have something like that going on, it's worse, because at least I knew there was a golden ticket there. Fucking get that shit out of here, and then like I can start to flourish and grow. And that's the thing that's different is most people, unless they're they have to be in this position where they're doing some other shit that's hurting their life, because it's nice, because then just take the stuff out and then learn how to grow and operate without that. Now there's a whole set of learning and growth that has to follow that. You can't just take that out when it's been a huge part of your life and then fucking white knuckle it. That doesn't work like that. You have to do the work. Like I fucking see a therapist every week. Like I talk to the right people. I have a routine. Like there's a lot in place that makes my chaotic, shitty fabricator self be grounded and structured.
Sure.
But for other people, I think just an awareness, it's a check, like check yourself, like what is it, figure that out. Because I think everybody is smart to the point where they know what the fuck they're doing to hinder their life. If all of us want to sit here and we want to talk about whatever it is, that one thing, it probably comes to all of our brains right now. What can we stop right now that's going to make us a better person? Boom. And we all know something.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a matter of having accountability and ownership in that, and then having the fucking balls to just do something else. But to have those balls, you have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's the whole thing. Right. You have to get to a point where you're fucking sick of it. I hate what I'm doing, but I'd rather do anything besides what I fucking do. Does that answer it, or is that just like?
No, it's great.
Dude, what about like? I gotta ask you. I follow you on Instagram, so obviously, like, you're a fucking physically fit dude. You fucking work out, right?
Yeah.
The physical aspect of it, like, what do you think that plays? Like, how don't you feel like that ties in mentally? Like, if a guy's gonna straighten his shit out, right?
Do I think that ties in mentally? That is like the physical. Absolutely. The physical thing, and we can tap into that. I can see you're in shape too. At least from that sweatshirt, you look like you got some shape.
It's a snug, so I stuffed it.
It's a kid's 14, 16.
Okay, that's like your favorite sweatshirt.
Yeah, right.
Hey, get my sweatshirt, honey.
Yeah. I got Morgan Clarke coming on tonight. Let's get my
You're
good
never
sweatshirt.
gonna hear the end of this. Never.
What happened? That goes with all this, right? I was drinking classic fabricator shit, right? Like I tell you, poster child. I was drinking 2 green monsters every day.
Yeah.
3 large fountain drinks, fast food for lunch, all together every day, fucking up little donuts and sugary shit from the gas station.
Any honey buns in there?
Honey buns? No, I like donuts and cupcakes. And there used to be these little things called rips, like in a package.
Oh yeah, I fucked with rips. Yeah, rips are fucking
there you go.
Sour little fucking thing.
Delicious little morsels. But
here we go.
I was like chasing Logan around. Logan's 10 and a half now. I was chasing Logan around the front yard, and I'm winded. I'm like, and I'm like, dude, why? My heart is going like I just ran 2 miles. Tag onto that, and it's all stuff. And then I'm like, okay, I got to stop. I'm like, I want to preserve my life for my kids. And I'm so good to get into a little bit of the physical and mental health thing. The the turning point there is when I stopped drinking Monsters. I stopped heavy soda like that. And then like we were out on a camping trip 2 years ago, and all these guys, like it's all like my chicks, like old coworkers and stuff, and you know, all these dads, and they're down at this creek. We all have no shirt on. They're drinking beers, and dude, dad, big old bellies and dad bods and all that stuff. And I like Peter nudges me and he's like, dude, right? Like we're all just dad bods, like you know, blah blah. And I'm like, you know, like, am I there? Like, is that how I want to be? And I started like exercising specifically just to get in shape. But what that did mentally for me, I will trade any bit of physical shape for. You know, especially with doing it in the morning, I've had to figure out what works for me, you know, and that's why I like to wake up early. Like I wake up at 3:30, I get to the gym either 4 or 4:30 most days. And what that does is it's like I feel like when I wake up, I'm already not a optimal person. I'm already negative. I already have like a shitty mindset. I'm not like as primed as I should be. And you know, the waking up, and I'm sorry if this leads into some other tangents, but it's all part of it, is, you know, waking up, holding commitments to yourself are like, it's one of the most profound things that I've like witnessed myself develop, where you can say you're going to do something and you do it. And I think a lot of my life, I didn't fucking do that. You know, I might have said something and not done it, or I would do stuff based on what I feel like doing, not what I need to do, you know, and like not having that discipline. So waking up early, like right off the bat, is a small win. And then going to the gym is a win, you know. And then at the gym, I take a cold shower. I don't put it on hot. I just take a cold shower, and it shocks my brain for a second, and I slow down, I process. And all of that I have done by 6:45 in the morning. And when I go to get my coffee at Starbucks, I'm like ready.
Ready to rock.
And in this mental shape, I feel like you put yourself through all that stuff in the morning. Like nobody wants to get up at 3:30. It sucks dick every single day. It is never like, woo, cool, we're up. Yeah. No, it is something you have to sit up. And I usually put my phone like so the light goes in my face, and I just stand up. My alarm clock's 10 feet away from me. But you do all that, and you know, by the time you get out of exercising, you've already done so much hard work to yourself, and you've pushed yourself physically, that anything that you have to go through during the day is not even a comparable scale to what you've already done. Everything is easier. Everything is more manageable. There's no drama. There's no shit. Like you don't get caught up in things. You're not thinking about stuff. You're not obsessing stuff. Like you've already done the work, and you've already depleted yourself. Not depleted yourself like where you don't have energy, but you've just you got all the bullshit out of the way. And you know, that's the thing now, like the health thing, mental health, and especially with fabricator guys, if we're talking about what advice to give guys that are builders, that, you know, are talented builders, is mental health. Like that's it. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, dude. 100%.
Everything. That's the key to life with everybody, is taking care of yourself. And it's the same thing. Everything I've done in my life, especially over the last year, I've done in a way to better myself and optimize myself. And it just because I look like this is not, I don't like do stuff in my life to look like this. This is a product of what I'm doing in my life, like as a whole. And it's the same thing with so that would be the ticket, is mental health. If I had some advice for guys, it would be work stringently on your mental health and personal development, and then everything around you changes. Everything is manageable.
I agree with everything that you said. I gotta call you out on something, because it just sparked something. You said something earlier. Nobody wants to get up at 3:30 because it sucks dick. Sidebar. All of us guys, because most of the guys listening, we've got to stop saying like that sucks dick, because that's a bad thing. We've got to, because that's where all the women are getting, like sucking dick is like a negative connotation. Like I don't have a problem.
You have to work harder.
I don't have a problem with it at home. Like everything's good. But for all the guys listening, like
I didn't know
That is an interesting take.
We keep, everyone's always like, "Oh, fuck, I don't want to."
Saying that things have changed in my life too.
I don't want to. I don't want to do that. That sucks dick. Like, don't be like, "Oh man, that's like that's like making a sandwich." Like, do something
that's what you took out of that.
Yeah,
I was like,
that was interesting. I was motivated.
super in tune with that, and it was like,
it is. I'm super motivated. I think it's awesome.
No. But I get that tangent, and I understand because we just don't want to plant the seed. That's one of the highest priority targets that you want to have with intimacy. That's a great thing.
We don't want to make it a negative connotation.
Yeah, I mean, that like just you'd sometimes prefer that over your normal general intercourse, like
or most all the time.
There's nothing like steak and a dick sucker. I think there's a lot to be said about that.
Oh yeah, part of performing well.
We've been doing it. As men, we've been doing it for years in just common nomenclature amongst each other of being like, "Oh fuck, that sucks dick." But that's gotten out to the female population, and it's brainwashed them as that's a negative.
Wow.
I think we're changing a lot of things here.
Dude, that's fucking deep.
It's. I mean, we got to start tying that in with like positive things. Like, dude, so and so just won the lottery. Like, he got his dick sucked. Like something with like a positive.
Just
flip flop it.
Yeah. So like, hey, here's this. Let's do this.
Okay.
After I get out of the gym and I get to that Starbucks, I feel like I just got my dick sucked.
That's where we're at. Okay. Now we're solving the world's problems. So all the men that are listening are going to be starting being happy. Dude, we start doing this. It'll take a little time, a few years, but subversively, yeah.
I see that. Yeah, you just don't want to put any more frequency into the negativity of that.
Hey, when y'all see me out, just go ahead. Just give me a little fist bump. We know. What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Okay. So remember I told you about my mom, and I told you that she went. I'm not going to forget about that suck dick thing because I definitely have said that before, and now I can do something. I can.
I'll remember that.
Fire with fire, and then, but I'm not going to just stop it. I'm going to use it as the positive thing, dude.
Spin it around.
Dude, I just finished this thing. I got my fucking dick sucked on this thing. Like I got my ass kicked. Right? You do that? Like, oh, this thing kicked my ass. I'm gonna be like, this thing sucked my fucking dick.
Yep. Yeah, dude, I brought that truck out to SEMA. That thing sucked my dick.
Dude, I drove that car the whole time. It was sucking my dick.
Dude, this happened here tonight, dude. Courtesy of you.
Yeah.
At first, I was skeptical. That took me a minute.
I follow that.
Yeah.
I get the deep vibe to the transition to dick sucking, but I'm good on that. So best piece of advice, like I don't have a lot of that. I think my mom was like she was in and out, right? So when she was in the hospice stuff, thought she had 5 days. She had she couldn't have food. She had barely any fluids, and a couple times her heart rate would spike, and then I'd have to make these phone calls. 15 of her friends would come in. We'd all be around this bed, and we thought she was dying, and then she'd pull through. She did that 3 times. And on the third time, we were there, and she had a couple tears, and she said, "Morgan, do something with your art." And I didn't take that as advice. I'm like, oh wow, she actually knows that she's leaving, and she had something to say. But I think that's probably the best advice I've gotten.
That's pretty cool.
When you think about advice, I haven't had a lot of mentoring people or people to help me at all with stuff. So yeah, I don't have like a lot of profound advice. Like I don't have a list. I can't even do it on one hand.
Next one we always ask your first car and a story about that car. But before you answer, sometimes we just take an opportunity to guess.
To guess it. He talked a little bit about it.
He didn't talk about first car.
I don't know if we touched
on
it.
He talked about early car. So you 85, so 20, you would have graduated normally, 2002, 2001, something like that?
2003.
2003.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're big into dirt bikes and the stuff, whatever. I'm going small pickup truck. I wanted to go Ranger, but I think that in the 2000s is a little too late in the game for a Ranger. So I'm going S10. And
that's an easy pick.
I'm going.
Is there any more guesses?
We'll get through all of them. I'm going S10, and that's going to be the early 2000s body style. It's a fairly newer-ish. Say it's a 99. It's a 99 S10.
Extreme?
It's not extreme. No, it's got the little flared out back bumper.
Yeah,
Got the little flared out bumper. It's regular cab. But but I'm going with I don't remember the actually factory color code, but it's that turquoise aqua color.
Yeah, you're way off.
That's
dude.
fine. That's my guess. That's my guess. What's yours?
Mine is that he seeked out. What's the last year of the OBS? 98, 99?
99.
99.
Unless it was a 2500,
Okay.
then they did a 99.5 for the classic
So
series.
he somehow stumbled across a good deal on a 2000. It had like the trans was
an
cooked.
NBS? An NBS?
Yeah, trans was cooked, high mileage. There's something, got a good fucking deal. Had the vision. He's gonna do something that's the fucker's going off road, right? It's a natural project vehicle.
So he got a 2-year-old NBS.
Yeah.
What color?
Red.
White.
Red.
Oh, okay.
How they only came in beige?
Not the NBS.
That's where I'm going with it.
All right. Well, right. You said crew cab?
No, it's extended cab.
Extended cab.
Yeah.
Where do you go?
I'm wrong, but I want to say Fox body.
Oh, that's cool.
What is it?
No, that would be cool. Fox body would be cool.
See, yeah.
You guys ready?
Yep.
So, I want to say an 88 S10. S15.
Okay. we'll order.
S15 GMC.
What
Extra
color- what
cab,
color was it?
charcoal gray.
If it was that year, it was brown. It was the turquoise?
No, it's charcoal gray.
Charcoal gray.
Yeah. Did
Maybe
have
like
they?
it's whatever. It was a square body, so it might have been
Okay.
a 94 or something.
I got you. But
You
if
know,
it-
whatever year they had a square body.
that changes my color pick.
was it the white gradient lower stripe?
I think it had a little red and black maybe stripe.
If it was
on
the
side or
if it was the charcoal gray, it had the trim and it had the red stripe on the thing.
something. Yeah, and I didn't have that long. I got that thing for $1,200, and I was going to pre-runner the shit out of that thing, and I took it up to this place called Boneyard, and I understeered right into an oak tree. I wasn't even supposed to drive it yet. It wasn't even. I didn't even have my license.
They were notorious for understeer. Those things just they didn't.
I'm going to go out on a
rotate right.
I want to let you know. I know that you haven't had the time to listen to every single episode, but in 2 seasons and whatever 4 episodes,
99%.
there's not been a guest that has not totaled their first vehicle.
Really?
Yes, every single one of
We
them.
hang with a shitty crowd.
I can give you more. I took my dad or my stepdad. So I had this other stepdad when I was younger, but just not like around or involved. He had a Toyota Avalon, just the one you're thinking of, like
Fucking
clean
Fen had
Xbox
an
in the back
Avalon.
window,
Yeah.
burgundy red, like shitty tan interior. And on Valentine's Day, I was pissed. And there used to be this back road, San Dimas Canyon Road, and it was a really good little transition, very easy. I went to the gas station. I picked up a cycle trader and an auto trader. And then on Valentine's Day, and I stopped wearing underwear when I was 16. I had jeans on, no socks, skate shoes, no shirt. Went up, and I got in a race with some kind of little VTEC thing. And this is a front wheel drive car.
Yeah, dude, the
Don't be
Avalon-
fucking with- don't be fucking with VTEC.
Fucking Avalon had ETC power
It
on
don't
the
matter.
shifter.
Don't be fucking with
little,
VTEC.
little fucking button. Fens had it, dude. Right there on the shifter.
The VTEC could fuck that up.
So we got going fast on this back road, probably 120 or something, and then I like lost some control, and like there's a big drop, and going 120 over this thing, and then I dropped, and I corrected to the point where I could, and I was good, and I didn't crash, and I turned up San Dimas Canyon where it gets tight, and I understeered off the cliff, all like maybe 40 feet or something, and it's all oak trees in a canyon, and the guy for sure was on my ass, for sure saw me go off, for sure dipped out.
Well, you would have
So-
done the same thing.
40 feet
What's
off
that?
the cliff.
You would have done the same thing. If you
Yeah.
were behind him, you'd be like, I guess he'll figure it out.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I'm just,
But I remember,
I'm
like,
wondering where the tie into. So I'm 16. I didn't wear underwear anymore. Gets
You
back
want to hear
into
that one?
Yeah, I'm wondering.
That
I'm
was-
wondering the
I got that one
relevancy
all
to
day.
this story.
You weren't the only one.
Well, my buddy Brian Gordon, he was a senior when I was a sophomore, and he was the guy who would drive. He had a Silverado extra cab, new body style, white, and so see we're all hitting. And I had a buddy with a Fox body.
We're there,
So we're
dude.
winning.
Yeah.
The Brian would take us to Beaumont, and I remember when you ride bikes, you change out your gear in the back of the truck, like everybody's sitting in the bed, and he pulls down, and dude, balls, dick, ass, whoa, what, yo, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, dude, he's like, I have free ball. He's like, fucking underwear are pointless, dude, blah blah blah, and that left an imprint on me,
Really?
and I stopped wearing underwear since then. Like I wear underwear in the gym just so I don't show like a mushroom head if I'm doing bench or something. But besides that, I don't wear underwear at all. There's no point. I haven't worn underwear since I was 16.
That's the perfect segue to the next question. What's in your pockets right now? We always do a pocket dump. So what's in your pockets right now?
0.
Nothing? Nothing in your pockets?
No, sit back down. Sit back down.
Oh, he doesn't wear underwear. Wow.
The table's perfectly placed.
Yeah, 0. I'm in like work attire right now.
Oh.
So I have earbuds next to me, and then I just have my phone, and that's it. I usually wear an apron, and I don't carry stuff in my pockets. It feels weird.
Favorite car movie, truck movie, off-road movie?
I mean, Gone in 60 Seconds is a legendary one. I'm sure a lot of people probably say that, right?
Yep. We all love Angelina. That was my reason.
I'm trying to think of like
Nick Cage
one
is
that's
badass.
way more special. You know what I used to watch that was really good?
Chips.
I used to watch Cannonball Run.
Hell yeah.
What about what was it called? Ferrari Summer or something?
Corvette Summer.
Corvette Summer.
Corvette Summer.
Yeah.
Corvette Summer, Cannonball Run. I used to fucking get those at the VHS rental store.
Like a family video or something.
Yeah.
Dude, we had a
You know where it had the porno on the back with all the beads?
Yeah, we talk about that all the time on here.
Jared's favorite spot growing up.
Dude, we had a fucking dude right down the street from here. We do a little test drive that it's like a mile to set speedometers, and just past there, you hang a right. There's a fucking dude for years had a Corvette Summer replica sitting in his fucking driveway.
You gotta get it. You're about of the age to be driving one of those.
Yeah, so I take it back. I think the Cannonball Runs and Smokey and the oh my gosh, Smokey and the Bandit, dude. That's the one.
Smokey and the Bandit's great, but Cannonball Run is still better.
Those were my bread and butter. Those were the ones. Like, no, not Gone. That's just an easy car one. But I think really Smokey and the Bandit and Cannonball Runs, those were the ticket. Like that. Remember in Cannonball Run, the guy that had the monkey driving the limo, and he had the steering in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, the monkey just chilling, but he would be in the back seat of the limo, like doing all the shit. Like, and there was the chicks in the Lambo, dude.
Yeah, the Countach is where it's at.
Woo.
Yeah. Countach was good, but Terry Bradshaw and Mel Tillis and the fucking dually was good too.
Dude, what's funny is like those movies are so old. My son loves everything from like when I was a kid. He's infatuated with it. He watches those on like repeat, all of them. So I come home and it's like Cannonball.
How old's your son?
12.
Yeah, so see, Logan's 10, and I had great moments with him sharing older movies.
Yeah.
And they don't, like, a lot of kids, it doesn't matter if they like don't hold up to us when we see them, like they love that shit.
Yeah.
Dude, my kids look like when I was a kid, I remember my dad like talking about like fucking Old Yeller or something, and I'm like, this looks ancient. It looked like an old fucking movie. My kids love it, like Dirt Bike Kid. You remember the Dirt Bike Kid?
That's
fucking.
If you're asking about a different, like a motorcycle one, Dirt Bike Kid was the shit.
Dirt Bike Kid is the shit. Like they love, Flight of the Navigator, all that stuff. Like I would have never.
Flight of the Navigator was my
especially
shit.
with like 1080p and all the advanced,
Yeah.
What's Flight of the Navigator?
You gotta be careful when you pull it out of the.
Flight of the Navigator would have been a mid 90s, early 90s.
Is that Flight of the Intruder?
No, it was a Disney flick. It was this.
It was the Chrome Nerf football.
Yeah, the Chrome Nerf football alien deal that comes back, and this kid has to like drive the thing, and it's.
Dude, you know what?
You gotta watch with your kid Flight of the Navigator. It's a great.
Yeah, I'm gonna tap into that one.
It's a great movie.
The other one you got to watch that shaped me. Anyway,
Howard the Duck.
No, Howard the Duck is fucking awesome. So is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But you remember, was it the Explorers? Are they the ones that built the fucking space shuttle like in the woods? It's like late 80s.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one either.
Yeah. It's Google it.
You guys remember Kids?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was a different era. That was also pretty
You
cool.
want to talk about old? I know I am the oldest one. Have any of y'all seen Swiss Family Robinson?
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
They built the treehouse.
Treehouse.
That's a fucking flick.
Yeah, they had that at Disneyland forever.
Yeah.
They had that at Disneyland. It was fire.
Really?
I think they're gonna bring it back this year.
Oh,
Yeah. I wanted to fucking live there, dude.
I did too. I thought that was the greatest movie of all time.
Dude, but Kids,
When I was a kid.
that's a hell of a movie. You don't hear that
You had to
reference.
know somebody who had like the.
I got it on
copy version of
DVD.
it.
I ordered it like 2 years ago on DVD just to see it again because I was like, man, that left a stink. That was a gnarly one.
Yeah,
Is that the one with the dude on the skateboard that had no legs?
yeah, I have no
It's the
legs.
AIDS one.
I have no
Casper.
legs. I have no legs. Yeah.
You know what else was epic too? One of the most epic movies that like it may get canceled if they release it now, but was so good and it held up. It'll hold up right now. Is Forrest Gump, dude. That movie, they did so good on that shit.
Yeah.
You know, like that's one of the most timeless things ever.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Forrest Gump rocks.
Man, Morgan, it's been fucking awesome, man.
Dude, been a fucking blast.
Been
Pleasure.
a fucking great. When are we going to see you again? What shows are you going to be at?
I think what we should do is we should like manifest something where I tell you that we're going to build a thing called MCD1 Dakar, and then I'll bring the Dakar with me. I want to go to, where are you guys out of?
North of Chicago.
Yeah.
Where?
North of Chicago.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I figured it was Illinois.
A lot of
I want to go to Michigan in the summer to do their Midwest Dirt Fest. And if we have this car done, I would like to just bring something with me or have transport stop by. When the transport's stopping by you guys,
Yeah.
I'll come by and I'll show it and we'll rip it.
Or
or
what if
something.
we do maybe like a little off-road competition? Maybe we're building something that's for off-road inspired.
Yeah, we don't want to get beat.
Too easy.
Yeah, we don't want to get beat.
Oh, we're just friendly.
Friendly.
It's trophies for everybody.
Everybody's a winner.
I don't play that game.
We'll see you
But it's been a
somewhere,
pleasure,
man.
you guys. I'm super grateful to be able to talk to you guys. And you know, if you want me just to come back on and shoot the shit again, I'd love to. It would be worth it to me. I'd love to sit at that table. And if we're gonna do it again, let me just figure out how I'll just get myself out there and sit at the table.
For
we'd
sure, man.
love to
have
do
you
it in
out,
person,
dude.
for
Always,
sure.
always better in person.
Hell yeah!
Well, been a
Right on,
blast,
boys.
man.
Are we out of here?
Yeah,
We're outta here,
That's
man.
it, brother.
All right.
Kick ass.
If you guys follow me, can you like message me so I know exactly who you are, so then I can follow you back and talk to you and shit?
100%, dude. I haven't posted anything since 2014, and my
That was
So,
a
yeah,
crotch
you're one of
shot,
those.
wasn't
my
it?
profile's on private. But
Yeah, I'm good for one post every 2 to 3 years.
Well, just so it's just an easy contact,
Yeah,
so
for
we
sure.
can be in touch.
Right on, man.
Absolutely.
Right on. All right,
thanks,
boys.
dude.
Appreciate
Been a
it, Morgan.
blast.
Later, guys.
Take care, man.
Later.
Later.
Bye.
Remember, you can keep up with Morgan by following him on Instagram at Morgan Clarke Design 1 and also on YouTube, again, at Morgan Clarke Design 1. That was awesome.
That's cool.
Way deeper than I thought we were going to
yeah.
Yeah, it's deeper, but that's cool, man. A lot of guys need to hear that. It's helpful, I think, for a lot of fabricators. A lot of guys. I mean, just people.
It's a lot of people in general. Yeah.
Just humans.
It's cool to hear that story of perseverance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Been
he's
through
a
some
talent-
shit, hit rock bottom,
Right.
came back, made
Yeah.
something out of himself.
Talented fucking dude. Like we didn't touch enough on what he actually does.
Yeah,
right?
we
do
did a
that
round 2 and
currently.
fish on the actual trucks.
Yeah,
We'll do it
we'll
when he
circle
gets out
back
here.
on round 2, but
Yeah.
follow, man, because it's very cool as a fabricator to see his artistic touch, like to watch what he like the way he approaches it, how he sketches. Like you'll see some tubes, and then that's photoshopped, it's sketched over, and all of a sudden there's like just rad brackets. Like everything has a design element to it, and I think that's what draws me to his stuff. It's really fucking cool.
Whiskey review time.
Dude, whiskey review. So
What?
before we get into,
Huh?
we'll touch on the Elijah Craig barrel proof. The second half of this episode is going to be dedicated solely to Spencer
I thought we were going to
It's not a twist off.
because
I know.
we have had
I thought we were going to dedicate it solely to Dustin because that's exactly what he sounded like the second half of. Dustin from the chassis shop. And he's like, come on, dude, I don't wear any fucking underwear.
Dustin's got the Cali.
Yeah.
He's got the Cali vibe for sure. But this is all about Spencer with the Slipknot Iowa whiskey.
All right, now that we know,
Slipknot.
now that we've tasted this, you want to tell the truth about what we did tonight?
What did we do tonight?
We started with Elijah
Right.
Craig
And we
because
pivoted.
we thought this was going to be bad.
But it's
And then
not
we went-
bad.
It's not bad. That's why I said
I gotta
you
say,
want to tell
man,
the truth.
I was so fucking skeptical, right? Coming off of the last,
4 picks that you've made.
no, not picks I've made, submissions.
They were bad.
Rock star submissions.
Okay, but and also the picks that you brought.
The fuck did I bring that was bad?
The truck stop bourbon.
It was truck
And the
stop,
tatter-
dude. It
wasn't
truck
just
stop.
that.
Like we weren't. I
He
wasn't.
was excited as shit about it, though.
I wasn't expecting that to be
Tattersall.
good. There was
It's good logo. It's good logo.
yeah, there was an opportunity that maybe there's a chance.
Okay,
Maybe,
I know. I'm not
possibly.
saying that you're a bad bourbon selector.
Right. But this one, I'll be honest, dude, I've been fucking so skeptical about this because
Why would you be? It's Slipknot.
Slipknot.
Right.
Not
known for their
typically known
Discerning taste.
for their bourbon whiskeys.
Yeah.
So obviously,
Is Spencer a Slipknot fan? Is that where that came
Spencer's
from?
a huge Slipknot
I
fan.
think that Slipknot would be a little on the little vanilla for old Spencer.
No, they wear like masks.
Yeah,
and,
no,
like,
but I think he's a
it's-
little bit more.
He goes a little
it's
harder.
very,
Yeah, a little
it's-
harder.
It's very BDSM kind of vibe, which I
Yeah,
think
that's-
suits. I think it suits Spencer well.
and that stash.
The leather masks, the
Yeah.
whole. I think that's those dudes,
Yeah,
right?
turn out the lights, a hole's a hole. I mean, the whole
Right.
kind of. Yeah. I get it.
I'm
Yeah.
more of like a Rolling Stones, Beatles kind of guy, but Slipknot. I think he photographs them. He's done like he's shot their concerts and stuff.
Right. I've seen him, and the whole time I've followed him for years. Of like, I wish they would do a whiskey.
So it's been up there.
Now they have.
Yeah. So I'd say that probably the biggest deterrent is the giant corn cob on the front of it. Because the last thing you want to think of, granted that corn is part of the mash, the last thing you want to think of is the corn flavor, right?
Okay.
You know, like a young bourbon, you always taste.
Corn and ethanol.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always thought this was a Gretzky thing.
Wayne Gretzky?
Every time I saw the number 9, I don't know
Is that
why.
is that his number?
I don't know if it was or not. I just, I have no idea.
It
You just thought number 9 was Wayne Gretzky.
I knew.
Hey, Google it.
Yeah, he's not number 9.
Google that.
No, he's not number 9.
Oh, shit.
But there was something that I know Gretzky did it. Like there was some kind of Gretzky whiskey, and every time I saw this big number 9, I was like, "Oh, that's that Gretzky deal." But I never spent the time to.
I'd
He's
say-
99.
Yeah, so
You're close,
Yeah.
right? First and foremost, I think I owe Spencer an apology. Number one, for
You do.
for allowing it to sit on the shelf as long as I have. Number two, for being so skeptical that I put it second to the Elijah Craig. That I wanted to make sure that we had something to drink throughout
You did.
the
You was
duration.
like, that shit's gonna suck. So let's start with.
Well, I didn't say it that. I did not say it that way.
No, it was inferred.
And
Closer.
coming off the tails of the ZZ Top whiskey.
Balcones. Balcones a great brand.
Okay.
The collab with
ZZ
ZZ
Top's a great band.
Exactly.
At any rate-
but together,
Yeah, no bueno.
Pleasantly surprised. Pleasantly surprised.
it's really good.
It's pretty good. It's got it's got that little cinnamon hue.
Yeah.
What were we drinking on the last podcast? It had that. It was Mike
That was
Rose.
the Mike Rose.
yeah, the Nobel.
Super
Yeah,
cinnamon.
or Noble, however you want to pronounce it. Knobble.
Knobble.
He's fancy. So, Swisher, Iowa, 45% alcohol, so 90 proof.
Look at you and your math.
It's good shit. It really is good shit.
Thank you, Spencer, and please accept my public apology for allowing this to sit stagnant on the shelf as long as I have.
Well,
But what does it say here? Slipknot and Cedar Ridge Distillery, two groups of people born and raised in Iowa. Iowa, typically known for their bourbon whiskeys, and committed
you're mixing
to
a lot of stuff that don't make no sense.
quality and hard work. We collaborated on number 9 whiskey, which, in addition to Iowa corn, gets some extra spice from its rye content. I hope you enjoy it as much as we do. Live life and always be safe. Cheers.
Is it live, love, laugh on the back?
I thought that's where it was going. Cheers, clown. Dude, looking at the Slipknot dudes and reading that, I'd have never thought that they were such respectful, polite dudes.
I'm going to tell you, they didn't write it.
It's
That was a PR.
It says
department.
clown.
You think so?
Yeah, I
It
know.
says dash clown.
Yeah, they get paid for that.
Okay.
They didn't actually write it.
Oh, let's fucking rate it, dude. It's
rated.
not bad. Not bad. 6.9. That's a fucking rating. That's a review right there.
Get it?
It falls very much in line with last episode's selections, and it's honestly just a little bit better, I think. And I think that's where we were. We were like 6.7, 6.8.
Yeah, you're lower than last episode, but
No.
No. You just don't remember things because you're getting old. You're losing your memory. Things are fading.
turns out you're right.
That's right.
Turns out you're dead on right. I was wrong.
I didn't drink it, so I can't rate it.
Do you want to take a sip?
I still got some tequila left.
All right. Phil chooses to not rate it.
I told
Mark
you
that down as-
I told you my wife wasn't coming. There's no sense in pouring that tequila.
Mark that down
We got
as
bourbon for everybody.
mark that down as the first NA for Phil.
Phil
NA.
N.A.
And put next to my 6'9", put a little mustache, if you would, for Spencer.
It's a sizable mustache, I think.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, a medium-sized mustache.
All
There you
right.
go.
I thought it was a comedic mustache at first, but here we are a year and a half later, and it's still there.
Yeah.
I think he's it's a long play.
He's committed.
The joke.
He's in it to win it. That's
Yeah.
not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think it was better than I expected. I'm going to give it a 6.7. It was better than I expected. Are we doing the Elijah Craig barrel proof?
Yeah, let's hit it. You rate that you've been on the high proof stuff. That's where you're at. You're trying to embrace your masculinity.
Yeah, but this
consistently.
Let people know that he's tough.
No, this one I was not as big of a fan of.
I was not a fan at all. I just couldn't get through that quick enough and shift gears into something else.
It wasn't the proof. It was the flavor.
It was both for me.
This particular batch. This is the B523. 11 years, 5 months, almost 12 years bourbon. I'm not going to fully pass judgment. I'm going to come back to this one at another point in time. But tonight, maybe it was my sneezing fit that I had earlier.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't touch on that. I was counting them. I think we hit 11.
I was waiting until the right time
you
to
can
bring
go
it
ahead
up.
if you want to. If you would like to go ahead, I've got also things that I could get into as well.
I was hoping that we would
You
get
should probably
through.
just walk away.
I was hoping that we would get
You
through
should
the
walk
bourbon
away.
review.
I'm thinking
and
that it would
we're
be
just
best
gonna let it
for you
go.
to back up
We're just
from
gonna-
the pool.
Just gonna let that go.
Yeah, tonight for me, Elijah Craig barrel proof. They usually hit pretty hard, even with the 124 proof. If you're gonna like a proof, this batch tonight for me didn't do it. I'm gonna give that a 6.4.
I'm going to go 6.0. I think this would be one of the first big names that I'd put a wouldn't buy it again. I did not like it at all.
I'll give it one more shot, but you could be right.
I'm gonna go 6.2, and I'm gonna say it. I don't love anything from Elijah Craig, honestly. Even their 18 year that's like sought after. That's a collectible, desirable bourbon. I think we
Just doesn't do it with your palate, huh?
I just don't love it.
Well,
Nothing great
Hey.
out of the Elijah Craig camp. Sorry, it's not for me.
Caramisi tequila, on the other hand, is delicious.
Dude, you know what? I'm sorry. The fucking sneezing was out of control. I'm not gonna let it go.
It is.
I'm not gonna fucking let it go. My little that coughing fit.
I know,
the
I know where you're going, and I am excited.
The little coughing fit. What was it? 6 seconds? 4 seconds? You sneezed 37 fucking times, dude. It was fucking embarrassing. It was honestly embarrassing. We've got a guest from out of town, a talented fabricator from California. He took the time out of his day to do this podcast, and you go into a fucking sneezing fit.
I'm going to record this on my phone
Like
so
an
I can enjoy
absolute
it.
fucking maniac, dude. Who sneezes that many times?
I apologize. I sneezed. I told you at the beginning of this I was sick, right? We prefaced that. The sneezes happened multiple times.
11.
I couldn't control it.
Dude, excuse yourself from the room.
I should have, right?
That's
right.
a reflection of
That
us.
was something-
That's a reflection of us as a team.
That was
I could
something
see
I couldn't
the
control.
way that it was perceived.
Do you know what?
You know that
something
you know that
can't
horror
control?
movie where you're like, no, don't go outside. Don't go outside.
Don't separate.
Yeah, he's,
You're gonna die.
he's going outside, just willy nilly. Look at him go.
I couldn't control the sneezing,
No, you couldn't.
right? But you know what you could control?
What's that?
That's asking your crush about working out, right? Or getting super excited when he talked about not wearing any underwear.
Now that I didn't get excited about.
The sweatshirt. That's your special sweatshirt.
Dude, no.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. You're sitting over there in a fucking kid's 14, 16
Same shirt,
t-shirt.
same size shirt I
That's-
wore for 2 seasons.
That's Maddox's t-shirt.
I'm growing. The shirt's not getting smaller.
Maddox's t-shirt, right?
It's a medium.
And nobody says anything about your physique.
Well, you're right, and I'd appreciate it that way since we're interviewing a male. He doesn't have to say anything about my physique.
Is this the,
What's that point in chess where you know any move you're going to make is going to
lay
lose?
it down. It's just you lay it down.
I'm not laying it down. I'm not fucking laying it
I
down.
bet you would for
He's going to
Morgan.
flip the board.
You'd lay it down for Morgan. I promise. Thanks again.
Dude, we're going to build a pre-runner together, and we're going to race it in the dunes, okay?
Yeah. Thanks again for listening to Oil and Whiskey with the Roadster Shop, an Ironclad original. If you like the show, be sure to leave a rating and review. Thanks again to our guest, Morgan Clarke. We'll see you again next week.